Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the 10th episode of the story, in which Uzumaki Naruto awakens one day to discover that his life has been transformed into an RPG game due to his gamer ability. What should he do about it? Naruto is smart. This story is from Seer King. Please support him, her. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. Classroom. Konohagakure Shinobi Academy. Naruto was whistling a jaunty tune to himself as he made his way back to the classroom. Behind him, his new teammates were breathing heavily from trying to keep up with the energetic little stamina freak. While her training with Naruto had greatly improved her stamina over the past few months, Sakura was still only barely above the base needed to count it as genin level. And Ino's own training and competitive nature had allowed her to keep up with her frenemy, if only barely. Seriously, Naruto, how much energy do you have? The Yamanaka heiress hissed out as Naruto paused to let them catch up at the room's door. She wasn't used to quick marching in order to keep up with someone who was the same age as her. More than you and Sakura-chan put together, Ino, the blonde boy shot back with a toothy grin. Irika-sensei doesn't call me a stamina nut for nothing. Sensei's right about that, the pinkette offered with a huff. Naruto can outlast me in a spar without even breathing hard. I still don't know how the heck he manages that, she finished, tossing a glare at her new teammate. It was kind of frustrating. No matter how hard she trained, Sakura would always be close to collapsing before Naruto even started to look winded. It's because I'm just that awesome, Sakura-chan. Naruto said with a definite smirk. Ignoring the almost synchronized scoffs from the two kunoichi, the last Uzumaki sat in his old seat for what he guessed would be the last time and settled in to wait for his sensei to arrive. Ino and Sakura reluctantly slid into place on either side of him and did the same. So do either of you know Sarutobi-sensei? Ino asked after a couple of minutes. Yeah, he lives at my building. Naruto nodded. He's a kick-ass teacher. He's taught me more about wind jutsu than I've learned in the academy. With him teaching us, we'll be strong before you know it. Dadabayo. Wait, I've heard that name before. Isn't he a former member of the Guardian Shinobi 12? The personal bodyguards of the fire daimyo himself? Sakura asked with wide eyes. Yup. He doesn't really talk about it much, though. The blonde boy nodded in agreement, having heard that from the man once or twice. Still, he should be able to teach us a lot about being a bodyguard from personal experience, right? Both of the girls nodded thoughtfully. Bodyguard duty wasn't an uncommon job for Shinobi, and someone who had acted as a bodyguard to the ruler of Hai no Kuni for over a decade would very likely know more than a few tricks of the trade that would make them very much useful in that department. In the next few minutes, various teams trotted out of the classroom as Jonin-sensei arrived to cart them away. The lady who picked up Team 8 was an interesting one in Naruto's opinion. She wore an outfit that looked as if she had raided a temple and draped herself in paper sutras, and her raven black hair contrasted nicely with her crimson-red eyes and pale skin. Yuhi Kurinai LV? Genjutsu mistress of Konoha. Now that was someone Naruto never wanted to fight. Genjutsu were a tremendous weakness of his, even with the protections that the gamer's mind granted him. All the gamer's mind did was prevent him from being terrified or paralyzed with fear from genjutsu. It did nothing to stop him being trapped in illusory genjutsu. He could still be locked in an inescapable labyrinth of an illusion and thus easily removed from a fight. Could having the Kyubi sealed inside me have anything to do with my weakness to genjutsu? He wondered absently. He remembered one lesson mentioning that there were legends from the Warring Clans era about the nine-tailed fox being controlled via illusions. Yo, Team 10. Asuma's deep voice sounded from the doorway. Naruto looked up quickly to see the man smirking at him. Follow me. The three genin scrambled out of the room, leaving Sasuke, Kiba, Akamaru, and Shino alone as the only genin in the room. So, anyone have a pack of cards? Kiba asked after a moment. With the new Team 10 Yakiniku Q, Konohagakure, wow, this place is pretty cool," Naruto said, looking around the room they were in. It had a large grill, which was already cooking some salted beef tongue on it. "Never been here before, Naruto?" Asuma asked. The man was busy cooking the food, but glanced up to eye his students every now and again. "Nah. Never tried to cook barbecue before, and I didn't want to waste what little money I had on food I would probably burn," the boy admitted. He was certain that with his level 25 cooking skill, he could handle it now though. Asuma chuckled slightly at that. "Fair point, the grills can be tricky for a beginner. I'll show you a few tricks at some point. Once you get the hang of it though, you'll be a regular here, I guarantee it." Ino eyed the meat hungrily. Although she'd enjoyed a veggie ramen at Ichiraku's, which she'd admit was surprisingly good, she still had enough room for more thanks to her discontinuation of her dieting. And the meat here did smell delicious. Sakura swallowed hungrily as she eyed the meat herself. While salted bull tongue wasn't her favorite meat, it was still Yakiniku Q's best-known dish, and she rarely ate out, mostly due to the fact that her mother wasn't the type to eat out when it was less expensive to cook from home unless she simply didn't have the time or it was a special occasion. "So then, while we wait for the meat to finish," Asuma said with a smile, "it's time to talk about the genin exam you're about to take." Didn't we just take the genin exam, Asuma-sensei?" Sakura asked in confusion. "Kinda yes, kinda no," the bearded man replied as he absently started flipping a few pieces of meat over. "Yes, you took the Academy Genin exam, but that was simply to clear out those who were clearly incapable of becoming shinobi in the first place. Those of you who have passed the Academy test have proven to have the bare minimum amount of knowledge and skill to become shinobi. Now you, and your classmates, have to pass the Jonin Sensei exam, which varies from sensei to sensei. About 3/4 of you will fail it and be sent back, no thanks to how badly the Academy's standards have fallen in recent years. You've probably already heard all about that from your Chunin sensei. Anyway, once we've eaten our fill here, we'll head to a training field and you'll demonstrate your skills before all 3 of you spar against me at once. Land a solid blow on me inside of a time limit and you pass. Fail to do that and you go back to the Academy. Simple as that." Naruto's eyes bugged out. "Man, talk about a high hurdle. Even all 3 of us put together aren't a match for you." "Easy there, kid, I'm not going to be going all out." Asuma chuckled before reassuring the blonde Jinchuriki and the now uneasy girls. "That would completely go against the purpose of the test. Yes, I could beat all 3 of you with one hand tied behind me if I wanted to. So what? I'm a Jonin and you 3 aren't even recognized genin yet. Unless you had several hours to prep an area with traps for an ambush and I was stupid and cocky enough to walk right into it, there's absolutely no way for you to win against me. What I want to see is if you can come up with a plan to fulfill an objective and then execute it properly. The purpose of the demonstration isn't for me, it's for your teammates so they know what you are capable of. Knowing the skills of your teammates is absolutely essential if you want to make a plan, especially against a stronger enemy." The 3 genin absorbed that for a moment, and then exchanged looks with one another. No matter how they stacked the odds in their favor, a Jonin was so far above them in every category that even landing a single blow seemed to be a coin toss at best. "I'll keep myself to the strength of the average Chunin, with no jutsu above C rank or my trench knives." Asuma continued as he served up the plates with meat, adding in the veggies that he'd been cooking on the side too. "It helps that thanks to my stint with the 12, I'm more than a bit rusty." Sakura tilted her head to the side in curiosity. "The Guardian Shinobi 12 are the Fire Daimyo's personal guard, Sakura. We have to be on guard almost all the time, and there are only 12 of us," the bearded Jonin chuckled. "Even with us working in shifts, that doesn't exactly leave as much time for training as we might like, and I was a member for over a decade. As much as I'd like to think I haven't gotten weaker from all of that standing around and reduced training time, I likely have. One reason why I decided to take a genin team is that it lets me ease into the life of a regular jonin again and rebuild my strength back up to its former level without too much hassle. Makes sense. Ino nodded. Didn't you have an interview with Daddy a couple of months ago too? Mandatory counseling after an extended deployment outside of Konoha. Asuma agreed. Thanks to the Yamanaka clan, our shinobi forces generally speaking have the best mental health in the elemental nations. There are outliers, but we're all in better shape, mentally speaking, thanks to the Yamanaka. Ino looked smug at that. Now tuck in. We have a lot to do today and you need to eat to keep your energy up. Asuma urged them. Not needing any further urging, the three genin fell upon the barbecue with a gusto. It impressed Asuma how Naruto could eat more food after visiting his favorite ramen eatery, but chalked it up to his Uzumaki heritage. Kushina had been a big eater as well, from what his dad had said. His eyes lingered on the sole male genin for a moment. What his father had told him was utterly ridiculous, a fairy tale practically, but Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't joke about the abilities of the ninja under his command, especially when it came to one Uzumaki Naruto. If the kid really has got some kind of RPG power, then it would explain how he's managed to do a complete 180 from dead last to capable student this year. Asuma mused as he started on his own meal. It would also explain how he learns jutsu so fast as well. This will be interesting, if nothing else. Later Training Field 10, Konohagakure Outskirts, Quest Alert. The True Genin Exam, your Jonin Sensei, Sarutobi Asuma, has revealed that you and your teammates are going to be tested by him to see if you truly deserve the Hitai 8 that you wear. In order to pass, your team must land a single solid blow against him, whether it be ninjutsu or taijutsu, within a specified time limit. Quest Reward, Confirmation of Genin Rank, 7,500 EXP, 10,000 Ryo, 2 Random Jutsu Scrolls. Quest Failure, Demotion back to Academy Student. This quest cannot be refused and has thus been auto-accepted. Naruto eyed the pop-up and resisted the urge to frown. After 3 years, he had graduated at long last. He was not going to fail this test. Like hell, he was going to go back to being an academy student after all of this. He leaned back against a tree and glanced around the training ground. It wasn't anything special, at least compared to the chakra-saturated training ground that he frequented. The place was basically a clearing in the middle of a lightly forested area, with a path leading through the trees to the entrance of the training ground. In the clearing itself, which was larger than the entire academy sparring ground, Asuma and Ino were watching with interest as Sakura made a Swajoki bunshin using the materials that she'd brought with her in scrolls. I have to say, I haven't seen someone use a Swajoki bunshin in a good while. Asuma commented appreciatively. Shame, as it's a heck of a lot more useful than the standard bunshin. You know any Suiton ninjutsu to go along with it, Sakura? A couple of low-rank techniques that my father taught me, but just supplementary ones, the Pinkette admitted. One to increase the amount of water vapor in the air by taking it from water nearby, and one that keeps too much water vapor away from my hair. Frizzy hair protection. Ino nodded sagely. Something to work on later, the bearded jonin mused. A lot of powerful Suiton techniques are chakra-intensive if they have to create water from scratch, but the more water in the area to draw upon, the lower the cost in chakra. If you're on a lake or close by the coast, the main cost of a Suiton jutsu is in manipulating the pre-existing water. Isn't that for people with a strong Suiton affinity? Naruto asked. Mostly, but someone with a lot of practice and talent can do it as well. Asuma explained. Hokage-sama trained himself to the point that he can use Suiton, Raiton and Futon just as easily as his natural Katon and Doton affinities. It's one reason why he's called the professor. Of course, trying to emulate my Oyaji is impossible for most people, otherwise elemental affinities wouldn't matter other than to catalog the types of jutsu. The best that most people manage when they put the effort into it are 3 elemental affinities, plus middling competency in a 4th. I stick to my futon and katan affinities as a matter of preference. Naruto watched as Ino gave a demonstration of her own skills, which were, rather surprisingly, less than Sakura's own. Aside from the Academy 3 and Traveling 10, the only unique jutsu that she had were the basic Shintenshin no Jutsu, the staple technique of the Yamanaka clan, as well as what she called the Tsubei Monomai throwing technique, which looked to be slightly more advanced than Naruto's own, Hiko Yashin fast draw technique, although Naruto was fairly certain his own throwing technique was a higher level than Ino's was. "Naruto, your turn," Asuma called out. "1 jutsu of each element and a demonstration of your fast draw technique please." "Gotcha, Asuma-sensei," the blonde-haired boy smirked. "Nothing above C rank, right?" "Yup," the jonin smirked back as he lit up a new cigarette. He was very thankful his old man had taught him a chakra trick all those years ago that kept the tar in the tobacco smoke from harming his lungs. It meant that he could indulge in his bad habit and not worry about becoming weaker because of it. "Okay then, for my first trick, Doton, Gensetsukan," Naruto said as he ran through 3 hand signs, picked a rock up off the ground and made the stone lengthen into a short spear as tall as he was. "Wow, instant weapon." Ino blinked. "That's only part 1," the boy grinned. "Here's the more useful version." Once again running through the same 3 hand signs, Naruto turned and stomped onto the ground, forcing a wave of stone spears to erupt from the ground and fly through the air to slam into the trees, shredding one. "Holy crap!" Sakura balked at the sight. "Not bad." Asuma nodded. The cluster was tightly packed. Enough to be a serious threat, but dispersed just enough to be properly difficult to dodge. You'd have to destroy or block the spears if you aren't quick enough to dodge them. "No using that on Asuma-sensei," Ino warned Naruto, who rolled his eyes. As if he'd let himself be hit by them. "Jonin, remember," the boy rolled his eyes. "Anyway, next up, Katan, Hatarubi." After making the 5 hand signs for the jutsu, Naruto breathed out a small cloud of fireballs the size of a dice, which quickly flew forward and then abruptly exploded in a chain reaction. "Aha! So you mastered it," Asuma said with a smile. "Yup." Naruto smirked. "Just got it down pat a couple of days before the genin exam." It turned out that the level cap of the D-rank Katan Jutsu was 25, and this is what it looked like. Katan, Hatarubi no Jutsu, active, LV 25, LV max, fire style. Firefly Fires is a D-rank jutsu designed to introduce beginners to Katan Jutsu. After making the hand signs, the user breathes out a stream or cloud of up to hundreds of tiny fireballs about the same size as a dice. Ordinarily a weak jutsu of no threat to anyone of Chunin rank or above, the user of this jutsu has mastered it to the degree that he can command the fireballs to explode on command to cause extra damage. Hand signs, Tiger Ox Monkey Boar Tiger Hair, range, 5 meters. Number of fireballs created, randomly between 150 to 500. Damage per mini fireball, normal 55, damage per mini fireball, explosion 220, costs 50 CP to use, mastery bonus, CP cost halved. It was leagues above how it had been when he first got it. Naruto really wanted to see how Sasuke would stack up with the same jutsu. "That's pretty cool," Sakura admitted. "Fire isn't one of my elements, but I thought having at least 1 jutsu from each would be a good idea." Naruto shrugged. The next 2 jutsu he demonstrated were Suiton Ninpo, Mijuame Bakujo, and Futon, Kaiten Shuriken, which impressed both Ino and Sakura. Asuma made a note to himself to ask if he still had the scroll for the wind-style jutsu. They were so hard to find that even he only had a handful of them at his disposal, and there was absolutely no way he was going to ask the only other primary futon affinity user in Konoha, one Shimura Danzo, due to the fact that the man was an old war hawk. Lessons from him would come with strings that would only increase with time. Asuma was fine learning and experimenting at his own pace, thank you very much. Okay, this is the last ninjutsu that I'm gonna show. Naruto declared as he ran through 3 hand signs, ending with the rat hand sign. Raitun, Denko Seka. Extending his hands, Naruto grinned as lightning crackled around them before 4 snowflakes of electricity formed around them and fired them across the clearing like shuriken. They smacked into a tree before dissolving into motes of static. That's a pretty unusual jutsu. Asuma commented, tilting his head to the side. Curiously. It wouldn't be effective at doing serious damage unless it hit the face, but it would be distracting. It isn't as polished as your other jutsu, I notice. Yeah. Raitun isn't one of my elements, and it's pretty much the opposite of futon, so using it's harder than suiton or katan. Naruto answered with an irritated pout. He'd trained with it and it was still only level 10. All of the other jutsu he'd learned were at least 5 levels higher than it. I don't think I'm going to be learning many Raitun techniques. It's not a bad idea. Leaving off studying the element naturally opposed to your primary is actually pretty common for even ninjutsu experts. Asuma agreed. I only know a handful of Raitun and suiton myself because of that. I do want you to try to master this jutsu though. You never know when a jutsu can come in handy if everyone knows that you don't use a particular element. Sakura and Ino nodded obediently in acknowledgement. Neither of them thought they'd use elemental ninjutsu much though. Sakura was a genjutsu-type kunoichi, while Ino used her family's specialized style of ninjutsu to great effect. Neither envisioned themselves using anything like Naruto's little arsenal. Although Asuma's next words made them pout. Regardless of your eventual specialization, I will expect all members of my team to have at least 2 elemental ninjutsu in their arsenal, just in case. Asuma added before Naruto demonstrated a very practiced and clean, Hiko-Yashin fast draw technique, sending 2 shuriken and 2 kunai slamming into the same tree that had been the target of his Raitun jutsu. Not bad, the Jonin nodded. Okay, now that you all have some idea of each other's skills, you 3 have half an hour to thrash together a plan to fight me. Other than the fact that you aren't allowed to use jutsu above C rank, anything goes. Traps, jutsu, weapons, the lot. Don't hold back. Off you go now. As Asuma wandered off to have a smoke, Sakura frowned. Why would he emphasize the fact that we aren't allowed to use jutsu above C rank? We're genin, even the best jutsu Naruto showed him was only C rank. Because I do have a couple of B rank jutsu. Naruto admitted honestly. One's a clone jutsu, and the other's a defensive futon jutsu. How? Sakura gawped at him. Wait, the Kage Bunshin no jutsu? That's a B rank. Wow. Wait, he knows that jutsu? Daddy talked about it once, it's a kenjutsu. Ino stared at Naruto incredulously. It can kill you if you use it too much. How the heck? Not the time. Naruto shook his head. I can also use futon, Fujinhiki, a defensive jutsu that I wouldn't use against someone who I know uses katan jutsu anyway, but what the heck. I also have, right. I also have a shuriken jutsu technique I can't use either. Every other technique I have can be used, just not those 3. Just how many do you know? Sakura demanded. Naruto shrugged nervously. A few. The 2. Kunoichi eyed him before exchanging a glance. Suspicious, they said simultaneously. Can we get to planning already? The blonde boy asked, somewhat desperate to not have to tell the 2 of them that, including 2 of the Academy 3 and all of the traveling 10, he knew 43 jutsu of various types. 11 doton, 9 futon, 5 suiton, 3 katan, 2 raitun and the rest were chakra-neutral jutsu. The chakra nagashi no jutsu, he counted as neutral because it depended upon the elemental affinities of the one who used it. Mentally cracking his knuckles as the two girls became serious and nodded at him, Naruto set his mind to his most pressing task yet, planning how to land even one solid blow on a jonin. Half an hour later, Asuma eyed the three 12-year-old genin standing a distance away from him and going through their last plans with each other. He honestly wondered what the heck they were going to come up with to get to him. Given how Naruto was pretty damn good at those pranks of his, the Hokage kept a record of the more outlandish and well-planned ones and had given it to Asuma to look over. Several had made Asuma laugh his ass off. The jonin knew better than to underestimate him. Add in Sakura's, frankly scary, intelligence and knowledge base and Ino's cunning, he was almost certain that he was going to regret not putting any limits other than stopping Naruto from spamming Kage Bunshin to overwhelm him. I really feel sorry for those poor kids who have Kakashi as a jonin sensei, he mused whimsically. The silver-haired, Cyclopean jonin was basically going to pass his team no matter what they did due to all three of them being clan heirs. Even his status as the hero of the Sharingan and the last living pupil of the Yondaime Hokage wouldn't stand up to the backlash of making the last Uchiha and the Inuzuka and Aburame heirs flunk back to the academy. Still, he was probably going to put them through hell, even if he couldn't fail them. From what he'd gathered, the Uchiha boy had an ego problem, so he'd likely go along with his usual bell test, which was his prerogative. Asuma still thought that it was a bit much for fresh genin to be expected to look underneath the underneath at that age. He knew it had taken Kakashi a few years of active service to learn that particular lesson, despite being a genius, so why he expected kids to do better at 12 he didn't know. "Okay, you three, time's up," he called as he extinguished his cigarette. "Have you managed to pull a plan together?" "Yup, Databeo," Naruto declared confidently. Sakura and Ino were less confident than their teammate, but still certain about the fact they had a plan. The looks of determination on their faces were actually somewhat adorable. "That's good to hear," Asuma said in amusement. "Need any prep time?" No. I don't think so," Sakura said with an uncertain frown. "Naruto? Any trap I could make, even a chunin would be able to detect and destroy in the forest." Naruto shook his head. "I'm good at traps in places like the village proper, but less so in forests, only good enough to catch rabbits and the like." Asuma made a note to work on that with him, if they passed his test. Reaching into his pouch, Asuma withdrew a simple timer clock and started fiddling with it. "It's 2 right now. You three have the next 4 hours to try and land one solid hit on me. You three ready?" The genin nodded and took combat stances, ready to move at a moment's notice. "Alright then, start," Asuma said and pressed one final button on the timer before placing it on the ground. In an instant, the 3 genin vanished into the trees. "Nice. I was half expecting Naruto to charge at me right from the get-go, but looks like he's done more than train his jutsu over the past year." The jonin half-smirked as he held himself in an easy stance. It would probably take the 3 a couple of minutes before they would possibly be ready to attack. With a shout, 3 copies of Naruto charged out of the woods to his left. One ran through several hand signs and shouted, "Doton, Dasakuja," before a wave of mud erupted from his feet and flew across the ground towards Asuma, who automatically leapt to the side to avoid it. This led him into the angle of the second Naruto copy, who fired off a Doton, Gensetsukan, barrage at him. "Futon, Detapa," Asuma intoned, using only one hand sign, Tiger, to invoke the technique. This powered down the technique enough that it didn't smash the clones while still possessing enough power to scatter all of the flying spears. "Wait, where's the last one?" the jonin wondered, looking around quickly. "I can't see it, so, below?" He leapt back just in time to avoid a large rock shooting out from the ground where he'd been standing seconds before. The Dangon was almost 3/4 of Asuma's height, which made him sweat drop. "I know I said, don't hold back and anything goes, but that's ridiculous," he thought in alarm. Asuma jerked his head to the side as a yell came from his left. Suetun, Yudachi, what had to be the real Naruto shouted. Moments later, 8 darts of water formed and shot at Asuma. Futon, Rapusho, the Jonin clapped his hands together, sending a gale of wind towards the incoming water darts. Rapusho, or Gale Palm, was a fairly underrated C-rank futon jutsu that was perfect for deflecting groups of lightweight projectiles like this. Naruto smirked as he finished the next series of hand signs though. Katan, Hatarubi. He spat out a large stream of small fireballs at Asuma, which just so happened to pass through his Rapusho, enlarging them by a fair amount. Wide-eyed, Asuma scrambled back to avoid the fireballs, now the size of apples, as they detonated in a rippling wave. Had he been caught in that, even as a jonin, he wouldn't have walked away without at least a minor injury. Dodging again, and wasn't that becoming? Tiresome? Asuma avoided another, Dasakujure, from what he guessed had to be an IWA Bunshin before he dodged another, Dangon, from the second clone. As he landed, the jonin leapt away instantly, just avoiding the soil crumbling beneath him to reveal a pit beneath the thin lid that had concealed it. How the... Must be Doton, Oto Shinana, he thought as he fell back. He must have his third clone traveling underground using Doton, Dochu Igyo, Doton, Moguragakure or Doton, Iwagakure. Where he would learn the last one is beyond me, but it's possible given his weird gamer powers. Asuma decided that he'd let the kid have enough for now. It was about time he started fighting back. He couldn't let Naruto have it entirely his own way, after all. Forming the bird hand sign, he fired back. Futon, Kyuden. Wind style, air bullets. He growled before firing off a barrage of compressed air spheres from his mouth, aimed right at the 2 IWA Bunshin. They struck them and shattered the rock clones into pieces. Abruptly, he felt something grabbing his feet. Looking down, Asuma saw a couple more Naraclones popped out of the earth and grasping his legs. Struggling, he found it pretty hard to move. They were strong little buggers. Hearing feet move, he looked up and silently swore as he saw Ino setting up to use the Shintenshin no Jutsu. Forcing some chakra into his legs, he broke the grip of the IWA Bunshin and leapt to the side. The Shintenshin no Jutsu was a very good way to capture a target, but it required the target in question to be immobilized first, as it traveled from the user very slowly. Any kind of serious movement meant it would miss. Shinaro. Sakura roared as she erupted from the ground beneath him, making Asuma's eyes widen in surprise. She drew her fist back and slammed a punch into his side, one that was far more powerful than someone of her build should possibly be capable of. He had instinctively reinforced his body with chakra, so the punch hadn't actually damaged him, but it still hurt like a son of a bitch. Ha! We did it, Dadabayo. Naruto cheered triumphantly as he poked his head out of the ground. When the heck did Forehead get so strong? Ino asked, eyes bugged out as Asuma sailed through the air, only to twist and flip in mid-air to land on his feet. Phew. Sakura breathed out slightly before she winced and shook her hand. Ow wow, looks like I still haven't fully mastered the Karada Kyoka no Jutsu yet. Considering that's a Chunin-level jutsu, that's not exactly surprising, Missy. Asuma remarked as he walked over to the timer and clicked it off. I must be rustier than I thought if 3 genin could land a solid blow on me in 15 minutes. Those clones of yours are scarily effective, Naruto. So what if I can't use the standard Bunshin? At least the clones that I can use are more useful than a bunch of illusions, the blonde boy grinned. Most of the time IWA Bunshin are a lot less responsive and quick to obey than yours are. Asuma informed him absently. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Congrats you 3. You've passed my test. So as of now we are officially Team 10. Welcome to the Shinobi forces, kids. The glee on the 3 young faces make him chuckle. Later kitchen, Naruto's apartment, Hokage Apartments, quest complete. The true genin exam, you and your teammates have successfully completed and executed a plan that resulted in him receiving a solid blow. Congratulations on becoming a full-fledged ninja of the leaf, gamer. Quest reward, confirmation of genin rank, 7,500 EXP, 10,000 Ryo, futon, Shinku Taijyoku no Jutsu, scroll, futon, Hanakairi mai no Jutsu, scroll. Naruto couldn't wipe the smile off his face as he made some tea for his guest. He was a real ninja now, not just a probationary member. And he had 2 more futon jutsu to add to his arsenal. This day rocked. Here's your tea, Asuma-sensei, he said as he walked back into the living room and gave the cup to his teacher, who had asked to speak to him once he got back from reporting to the Hokage. Thanks, Naruto. Asuma nodded before sipping his tea and hummed. Pretty damn good. Having my cooking skill at level 25 is pretty useful. Naruto said evenly as he sat down and watched as a mix of surprise and skepticism crossed the older man's face for a moment. Right, Oyagi told me that you knew I'd know about your ability, the Jonin said carefully. Forgive me for saying so, but it sounds, well, plain ludicrous. Try seeing it from my point of view. Naruto laughed. I still have a hard time believing it exists after almost a year of using the thing. It's, well, calling it overpowered is an understatement. If even half of what I've been told is true, then that's truer than you think. Asuma allowed. Can you offer any proof that it exists? Naruto thought. I could show you my skill learning system, he said after a moment. If you still need convincing after that, I'll invite you into a party like I did with Gigi. Asuma couldn't help but chuckle again at someone referring to his old man so casually. It was a bit jarring, but at the same time it was nice to hear. The Hokage had so very few people to treat him as a person as opposed to the authority figure at most people in the village had known him as for most of their lives. Okay then, let me see what you have in mind, the older man invited. He blinked in surprise when Naruto pulled a scroll out of nowhere. Surreptitiously using a trick to break genjutsu, Asuma frowned before asking, and what scroll is that? It has, futon, Shinku Taijyoku no Jutsu, on it. Naruto replied. That's a pretty rare and powerful jutsu. Only one man that I am aware of in Konoha has that jutsu, Shimura Danzo. Asuma said grimly. Try to avoid using it where people outside of our team can see it, otherwise Jonin might think he taught you it. I generate a copy of the jutsu scroll whenever I absorb one. Naruto said thoughtfully. I could just say that I found it on a mission once we take one that's outside Konoha. That'll work. Asuma nodded. It was a good excuse, you never knew where you'd find jutsu scrolls when in the field. Without further ado, Naruto pressed something in the air and the scroll he held in his other hand dissolved into motes of blue light which whirled around Naruto's body and then disappeared into his chest. Asuma's jaw gaped open for a moment before he ran through every method of genjutsu dispersal that he could think of. The sight before him didn't change, but he could easily attribute that to some form of space/time ninjutsu. Seeing that in his eyes, Naruto sighed and flicked his hand through the air for a moment. Seconds later, a window appeared right in front of Asuma, who jerked back in shock. Party invitation, Uzumaki Naruto has invited you into his party. Accept? YN After once again running through every method of genjutsu dispersal he could think of, Asuma cautiously pressed the Y key. An instant later and a small window replaced the first, with his name followed by a whole slew of numbers. Asuma was more up-to-date with RPGs than his father, so he was better able to grasp what it all meant. This is... he muttered. Check this out too, Asuma-sensei. Naruto called and flipped a screen that was in front of him around to face the Jonin. Futon, Shinku Taijyoku no Jutsu, Instant, LV1, 0%, Wind Style, Vacuum Great Sphere, otherwise known as Vacuum Bomb or Vacuum Blast, is a more powerful version of futon, shinkagyoku. Unlike the weaker version, the user compresses the air breathed in into a single, large blast of air rather than multiple smaller blasts. The force of a mastered vacuum great sphere is strong enough to crush and shatter concrete and rock as if they were nothing. Hand signs: tiger, dog. Sphere size: basketball. Range: 10 meters. Damage: ANT*WS plus LV of primary futon affinity bludgeoning damage. Chakra cost: 75 CP. Asuma took that in, his mind racing. It didn't just tell Naruto the effects of the jutsu and its effective range, it told him back history and alternate names for the jutsu as well. This was. He looked up and saw Naruto absorb the other scroll and turned the screen around to face him as well. Futon, Hanakairi Mai no Jutsu, instant/continuous, LV1, 0%, wind style, flower scattering dance is a wind style technique hailing from unknown origins. Some believe it originated from the Nadeshiko village, while others argue it comes from Kaze no Kuni like many other futon techniques. Regardless of which origin is the real one, this is a highly useful jutsu. The user summons forth a whirling cyclone of wind that the user can direct as they will, allowing them to remain stationary. The user can also control its size and rotation speed, allowing them to switch from offense to defense and back in an instant. Hand signs: tiger, hare, dragon, range. Up to 10 meters away. Standard radius: 11 inches. Maximum radius: 22 inches, standard rotation speed: 210 rpm. Maximum rotation speed: 420 rpm. Damage: ANT plus LV of primary futon affinity. Chakra cost: 40 CP to activate, 10 CP to maintain per minute. 5 CP cost to alter rotation speed and radius once active. Asuma's eyebrows rose up even higher in disbelief. It even mentioned such finicky little details as the rumors about the origins of the jutsu and allowed Naruto to control its rotational speed and width. Dear sweet Kami, this was incredible. Asuma said in disbelief. With this, gamer, ability of yours, you'll be incredibly powerful. Yeah, but it isn't exactly easy. Naruto reminded him. Just like with regular jutsu, I have to put in the work to master any jutsu I learn, and I can only learn 5 jutsu a day by using scroll absorption. The rest I have to learn from trying and failing. Not to mention that they start off weak as hell at level 1. Not so much different from practicing the jutsu to get it right then. Asuma latched onto the last comment. No one gets a jutsu right the first time they use it, Naruto. Sometimes it even blows up in their faces. That happened to me when I was a chunin. I had gone through every aspect of my katan, Heizakisho, fire style, ash pile burning, and thought that I had it down pat. Instead, I blew myself up and got slammed ass first into a tree. Ouch. Naruto winced. Tell me about it, the older man grumbled, taking a deep calming lungful from his cigarette before continuing. Okay, so it's not a straight-up instant mastery, more of a head start and an ability to quickly learn the basics and a few of the finicky bits. That's actually a bit reassuring honestly. Having to repetitively practice with the jutsu will let you get to know the jutsu you learn and gain practical experience with them, which is just as important as technical knowledge. The limit you have is also good, it'll stop you from simply learning jutsu after jutsu without mastering any. How many jutsu do you have mastered, anyway? Air, Kawarimi, Henge, the Traveling Ten and Katan, Hatarubi. Naruto recited. Although Gensetsukan, Dangon, and Kaden Shuriken aren't far off maxing out. That's good. Asuma nodded. Okay, here's my first instructions for you as a Jonin sensei. I want you to finish maxing out those 3 jutsu and then demonstrate them to me. Then I want you to try and master 2 more jutsu that are not one of your elemental affinities. Hi, Asuma sensei. Naruto nodded. Oh. I forgot to mention that when I master a jutsu, sometimes I get a mastery bonus to go along with it. Katon, Hatarubi gave me a reduced chakra cost on its use when I mastered it. Blinking, Asuma had to take a moment to process that. That seems very random. It varies, the boy replied with a shrug. Mastering E-rank jutsu either gives me a quest, a D-rank jutsu of the same element, or a level in a D-rank jutsu of the same element that I already know. Your gamer power is going to give me headaches, I just know it, the Jonin sighed tiredly, leaving Naruto to shrug helplessly. My Raiton jutsu is one of the ones I'll try to get up, I think. Naruto frowned a moment later. Denko Sekka is hard to level up, but I kinda want to see what mastering bonus I get for maxing it out. Given how it's your weakest element, I would be curious to see that as well. Asuma nodded in agreement. Anyway, I'm gonna head back to my apartment for the night. Oh, by the way, the Hokage wants you to report to his office at 9 sharp tomorrow morning. Gigi does? What for? Naruto blinked in surprise as Asuma finished his tea and stood up. He absently dissolved the party as the man stretched. No clue, I'm just the messenger. Asuma shrugged. By the way, have you fixed up all of the apartments here? Yup. It was useful training for my Kage Bunshin. Naruto nodded. They're all as clean as whistles, they all have basic kitchen appliances and beds, just about the only things they don't have is running water or active electricity, and all I need to do is turn them on. Why? I think you're going to get new tenants. Asuma smirked as he left. Naruto blinked for a moment before his higher INT and WS stats helped him put the pieces together and he facepalmed. Damn it. I'm going to have the bastard in my apartment building, the boy grumbled. And Kiba. I swear if he lets Akamaru piss all over the place, I'll neuter them both. Grumbling, Naruto blinked as a new pop-up appeared. Quest alert. Gotta master all, your Jonin sensei, Sarutobi Asuma, has issued you with your first individual goals as a genin. Fulfill them to make him respect the gamer system. Quest Goal 1, max out Doton, Gensetsukan, Doton, Dangon and Futon, Kaden Shuriken before reporting to Asuma sensei. Quest Goal 2, max out 2 other elemental jutsu that are not either Doton or Futon. Goal 2 bonus objective, have one of the 2 jutsu be Raiton, Denko Sekka. Quest Goal 1 rewards, plus 100 relationship with Sarutobi Asuma, plus 5000 Ryo, plus 5000 EXP. Quest Goal 2 rewards, plus 500 relationship with Sarutobi Asuma, a trip to the library to select your Kodachi in Tanto styles, plus 5000 EXP. Quest 2 bonus objective reward, plus 500 relationship with Sarutobi Asuma, Doton Kage Bunshin, Scroll, Futon, Kaze no Yaiba no Jutsu, Scroll. This quest cannot be refused and has been auto-accepted. Another quest that can't be refused? Naruto hitched an eyebrow at this. Well, I guess that you can't exactly say no to an order or instruction in the military, so maybe that's why I can't say no to quests given by superiors? It's worth thinking about. With that thought, Naruto headed off to cook dinner and then do some Fuinjutsu practice before bed. He had a feeling that he'd need the rest for tomorrow. The next day outside of Amikage Apartments, sheesh, that's a lot of luggage databayo. Naruto let out a short whistle. There were men from the Hyuga, Yamanaka, Inazuka, Akimichi, Aburame, Nara and Haruno clans out there, sorting out luggage and getting guided to the correct room via one of his shadow clones. Actually, compared to when civilians move on their own, it really isn't. Irika said from next to him. The two were standing on the walkway outside Naruto's own room, simply watching the proceedings. Storage scrolls make moving a lot easier and less cluttered, keeps things down to just a few boxes of scrolls and anything fragile enough that the user doesn't want to risk breaking when it is unsealed. Are all the rooms ready for their new tenants to arrive? Yeah, just turned the water and power on this morning. Even had Gigi give them a once-over before this lot arrived, he gave everything the okay. Naruto answered smugly. The scarred Chunin chuckled. Glad to hear it. You do realize that you're going to have to give a welcoming speech to all of the new tenants, right? Actually, who is moving in here? Sakura-chan, Ino, Shikamaru, Shino, Sasuke, Choji, Tenchan, Hinata, Hyuga Niji and Rock Lee. Naruto listed off. Aside from Asuma sensei, none of the Jonin sensei are staying here. Well, most of them already have their own homes or apartments that they've lived in for years. Irika pointed out. It's no surprise that they're not upping sticks for this place. I wouldn't want to. I've lived in my house since I was a boy, and I find it a nice, comfortable and relaxing to live in. The draw of the familiar and comfortable is a strong pull, Naruto. Remember that. Hi, sensei. Naruto nodded. By the way, thanks for stopping by and helping out here. I'd have thought you'd be busy getting ready for the new academy class that's gonna start next month. Fortunately, I won the luck of the draw this time around. The Chunin sighed in relief that he was out of that mess of fuss and feathers for once. Hokage-sama's tapped me to act as supervising administrator for newest batch of genin. I'll basically be helping your instructors make sure all of the bureaucratic and administrative stuff like accepting and reporting missions is done accurately for your first year as genin. It makes things go a bit smoother until you all get some experience in handling the day-to-day minutiae of being actual shinobi. I'm not looking forward to the D ranks, the Jinchuriki grumbled. Tenchan's told that they're basically people paying us to do chores. You have to get your feet wet somehow. Irika responded sternly. D ranks are no-risk missions that you and your teammates can complete while still leaving you plenty of time to train and advance your abilities under your sensei. You all need a lot more experience and some actual combat training before you're ready for even a low C rank. Even tracking down bandit lairs or guarding caravans isn't an easy job. Be patient and accrue experience and you'll do fine. I do get experience in a very literal sense, Irika-sensei. Naruto sweat dropped. Thanks to the gamer, I'm a walking RPG character. It doesn't make the idea of doing missions that are just chores dressed up prettily any less boring, he groused aloud. Look at it as a training exercise, Naruto. Irika advised wisely. I'll admit, I thought much as you did back when I first became a genin, but I found a way to make the dull D ranks work for me. I used them to train my ninjutsu. Take painting fences, a pretty common D rank mission. I adapted Suiton ninjutsu to paint the fences instead of using brushes or rollers. For walking the Inuzuka clan's dogs, I used it as a chance to get some good running practice in. Adapt to the circumstances and you'll see that all sorts of ninja skills can be trained by using the D ranks. How'd you get a Suiton jutsu to work with paint? Naruto blinked in surprise. From what little he knew about water release techniques, they were primarily designed to work with water. He'd hear of a couple designed to work with oil and other liquids, but they had to be specifically designed to work with something other than water. Well, my Jonin sensei was a Suiton expert, so he naturally knew and used a variety of techniques and tried to pass on some of his skills to us, the scarred Chunin said with a thoughtful look on his face. One that he made sure to teach all of us was Suiton, Suigun Suema no Jutsu, Water Style, Water Army Water Demon. It's a low C-rank jutsu that allows the user to either manipulate pre-existing water or create water to fire a short-ranged stream of water. It was actually designed to be used primarily for firefighting, but it's easy to adapt for other uses. The hand signs are normally boar, dog, horse, and tiger, but my sensei told me that by swapping out the boar hand sign for the bird hand sign, it makes the jutsu focus less on water and more on simply liquids in general instead. You have to be careful that you don't grab any other liquids nearby like puddles or even mud when you use it, but otherwise it makes painting a lot quicker and more efficient, and it's great practice for Suiton ninjutsu. I'll definitely have to look into that jutsu. Naruto swore. No way was he going to get stuck doing boring-ass painting all day for some spending money. I'll look forward to you mastering it. Irika said in amusement before remembering something. I did stop by for something other than checking in and offering moral support, Naruto. Here, this is for you. Reaching into his pouch, the Chunin sensei withdrew a couple of scrolls and handed them to his former student. What are these, Irika sensei? The blonde boy asked. The first scroll contains all of Mizuki's ninja gear, minus his flak vest and Hitai-8. Irika informed him seriously. All of his possessions were thoroughly checked over before being cleared to be awarded to you, Naruto. That's about 400 regular shuriken and kunai, a dozen of his dai shuriken. Several reels of ninja wire, a couple of stacks of explosive notes and 6 scrolls containing various ninjutsu and genjutsu. The genjutsu might be a bit tough for you, but maybe Sakura and Ino can make use of them. Cool. Naruto said enthusiastically. And the other scroll? Mostly furniture and the like that Mizuki owned. He kept his parents' house, which is being auctioned as we speak. Irika said. The funds will be given to you once that's finished. I know you don't really need the furniture, but you could use them as emergency backups in case something happens to the stuff you already have in the building, maybe? Awesome. That'll save me money with the furniture shops. Naruto cheered. Even with the Hokage breathing down their necks, some of the shops in Konoha were still reluctant to sell him anything, with some of them still trying to overcharge or price gouge him whenever they got an opportunity. Glad Mizuki was good for something. Irika muttered. He was still horrified that his friend could have done something as blatant as trying to betray Konoha. Not to mention trying to frame Naruto for his own crime. He was going to need a stiff drink tonight if he didn't want to be kept up by his own thoughts. Luckily a distraction arrived to pull Irika away from that sour line of thought. Looks like your new tenants are waiting for you, Naruto, he commented, nodding towards where 8 new genin, and 3 older genin, stood at the front of his building. You'd better go off and get down to business, landlord Uzumaki. Right. Naruto chuckled nervously. This is gonna be tough. Nothing worth doing is ever easy. Irika advised him before messing with his former student's hair again, making Naruto swat at him peevishly. Now I do have to go. Meet me at Ichiraku's after work and I'll treat you to a bowl. You got it, Daddy Abato. Naruto cheered. He was in no way stupid enough to turn down a free bowl of his personal food of the gods, no sir. The fact it gave him some motivation to deal with his former classmate/new tenants was a big bonus. Slipping the scrolls into a pair of slots in his utility belt, Naruto headed over to meet the newest people to live in the Hokage apartments. Yo, how's it going? He asked cheerfully. Hey Naruto. Tenten greeted him with a warm smile. Pretty nice place the Hokage's set up, isn't it? Yup. And I'm the landlord, believe it or not. Naruto said with a chuckle. Tenten already knew that, as did Sakura, but for the rest it was pretty shocking news. Wait, how the hell is this your place? Kiba demanded in disbelief. Last I heard, you rented that shitty-ass apartment near the dead district. I got turfed out thanks to a group of people breaking in and wrecking the place. Naruto answered with a helpless shrug. Gigi set me up with this place and made me the landlord. Any other questions before I give you all a rundown on the basics? There were none, so Naruto gave the speech he'd been readying since he'd found out he would have his classmates as his tenants. Okay, so, you are now all tenants of the Hokage apartments. Most of you know me, but for those who don't, I'm Uzumaki Naruto, the landlord here, he said easily, thankful that his gamer's mind kept him cool, calm and in control in this kind of situation. For those of you with clans, your apartments have been paid for in advance for the first month. This leaves you with enough time to save up money from your mission pay and standard pay. For those without clans and families, the Hokage himself has paid for that first month as a gift for all of you gaining the rank of genin, even those of you who have been in the Shinobi forces for a year. I'm a genin too, so I won't be in the building all of the time, but I'll be keeping at least one shadow clone here at all times, so just let them know if you need anything and they'll let me know. As much as I'd like to say, do whatever, in your rooms, there are rules. Break furniture and you have to pay for it. You all have to at least keep your rooms sanitary enough to not pose a health risk. If you don't, you get charged extra for the cleaning service, the blonde boy continued. You also have to keep your pets from doing their business inside. Arf. Akamaru barked in protest of the possible slight against his house training. I know that you know better, Akamaru, but these guys might get pets of their own at some point and they won't be ninken smart. Naruto defended himself. With a small snort, the ninken pup accepted that excuse. Now, on to facilities. There's a taijutsu sparring room on each floor, with a shuriken range and ranged jutsu practice area in the basement. Naruto started to relax when he noticed everyone was actually paying attention. It's sanctioned for anything up to mid-C rank. Anything higher rank you'll need to find a training ground to use unless you want to risk bringing the building down on all our heads. You've all got free access to all the facilities except for the utilities area, all of which are clearly marked, and the second floor of the basement, the piping and other such is down there. This is for your safety and the Hokage's peace of mind. Okay then, any questions? How do we pay you our rent? Choji asked. You can either set up an automatic transfer of fund from your bank account to mine, or you can just pay in person. Naruto answered. Whichever way you want is fine, but I'd prefer cash in hand. Anything else? Yash. How much is our rent? The mini guy that was Rock Lee asked. One brow twitching at the huge eyebrows being wiggled in his direction, Naruto took a moment to take in the older boy's words. Wait, that should have been on the forms you all got. It's 1,500 ryo per month, utilities not included. A fair price. Shino nodded. The amount was missing from the form my parents handed to me. I suspect the same was true for everyone else present. A murmur of agreement came up from everyone present. I'll have to let Gigi know about that. Naruto frowned. Do you all at least know what apartment you've been assigned? Fortunately, they all did. As they wandered off to unpack and get settled in their respective apartments, Naruto heaved a sigh and headed up to his own apartment. He wanted to double-check everything he'd gotten from Mizuki to make sure it was all in working order. And of course, he wanted to have a look at whatever jutsu were in the traitorous Chunin scrolls. Thankfully, he was left alone by the various people wandering about his building, some of whom were almost certainly ANBU in disguise. His Gigi had told him that security here would be taken seriously and that a lot of the movers for the small clan and non-clan members of the graduating class would be there to ensure things didn't get unnecessarily messy, as the old Hokage put it. By that, Naruto assumed, he meant people placing monitoring seals where they weren't supposed to be. As the former ANBU HQ, the Amicage Apartments had subtle and discreet monitoring seals placed in its corridors that would alert the one bound to them, an ANBU, if someone was wandering where they weren't supposed to be. Having some sloppy idiot putting up a half-arsed seal nearby would not be a good idea. Settling into one of his chairs, Naruto removed the scroll that had the jutsu sealed into it and rolled it out so he could specifically unseal them. A puff of chakra smoke later and he had 6 scrolls in his lap, making multiple windows pop up. You have acquired the Genjutsu, Moya Moya Jutsu scroll, you cannot learn this jutsu. Requirements, skill, average chakra control, you have acquired the Doton, Dochu Igyo no Jutsu scroll, do you wish to learn this jutsu? Y/N, you have acquired the Genjutsu, Kasumi Jutsu scroll, you cannot learn this jutsu. Requirements, skill, average chakra control, you have acquired the Doton, Doria Hiki no Jutsu scroll, do you wish to learn this jutsu? Y/N, you have acquired the Doton, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu scroll, do you wish to learn this jutsu? Y/N, you have acquired the Katan, Kengakure no Jutsu scroll, do you wish to learn this jutsu? Y/N, so there were 2 genjutsu and 4 ninjutsu in the mix. That was a bit disappointing, but he was sure that either Sakura-chan or Ino could make use of them, which meant they wouldn't go to waste at least. Setting those scrolls to the side and dismissing their screens, Naruto rapidly hit Y on the 4 others. You have successfully learned Doton, Dochu Igyo. Doton, Dochu Igyo no Jutsu, active, LV1, 0%, Earth Style. Underground Projection Fish Jutsu is a standard C-rank Earth element jutsu that allows its user to sink into the earth and swim through it like a fish. When emerging from the earth, the user emerges totally silently and without disturbing the ground around or beneath them. Due to its utility for both stealth and combat applications, this jutsu is commonly known throughout the entirety of the ninja world. Hand signs, dog boar snake bird, underground travel speed, baby's crawl, costs 30 CP to activate and 5 CP/minute to maintain. You have successfully learned Doton, Doria Hiki. Doton, Doria Hiki no Jutsu, active, LV1, 0%, Earth Style. Earth Style wall is one of the elemental wall techniques alongside Futon, Fujin Hiki, Katan, Karyu Hiki and Suiton, Suijin Hiki. Using it, the user can summon a defensive wall of mud, earth or rock in front of them to act as a shield. While it is possible for the user to create earth and/or mud from their own chakra instead of manipulating pre-existing mud and earth, it is not advised unless the user is at least Jonin rank and possesses a significant amount of experience with the technique. A skilled user of this jutsu can create a wall with a personalized design on it rather than a plain wall of stone or mud. Hand signs, tiger hair boar dog. Durability points when created, 75, costs 50 CP to create. You have successfully learned Doton, Shinju Zanshu. Doton, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, instant, LV1, 0%, Earth Style, double suicide decapitation jutsu, sometimes referred to as the Earth Style, Headhunter Jutsu, is a very old jutsu created to quickly incapacitate more powerful or heavily armored opponents from ambush. At its core, it is a very simple technique that is easy to execute and is very useful for a D-rank jutsu. The user lurks underground and drags their target down into the ground up to their neck, whereupon the user can resurface and kill and/or torture their target with impunity. It should be noted that given sufficient time or enough pure brute strength, the target can and will escape from this technique. Hand signs, none. When used, the user must be underground and their target must step within arm's reach of them. When the target is dragged into the earth, they are bound with bindings with a DP of 30. Should that DP be expended, they shall be able to remove themselves from their prison. Costs 30 CP to use. You have successfully learned Katan, Kengakure. Katan, Kengakure no Jutsu, active, LV1, 0%, Fire Style. Hiding in fire jutsu is a fairly unusual concealment technique whereby the user is able to shroud themselves in chakra and hide within a nearby lit fire. Upon reappearing, it appears as if the user emerges from fire. Other rarer examples of concealment techniques would be Shimagakure no Jutsu, Gamagakure no Jutsu, Hyomengakure no Jutsu and Nunogakure no Jutsu. Hand signs, tiger boar snake monkey. The user can only hide in fire of a certain size and above. The higher this jutsu's level is, the smaller the flame that the user can hide in. Current size, bonfire. Costs 95 CP to activate and 10 CP/minute to maintain. Yow! Naruto hissed out as he raised a hand to rub his throbbing head. The sudden influx of so much information was enough to actually hurt. Damn it! He couldn't catch a break, could he? Anyway, all of the jutsu looked pretty useful, with the possible exception of the Kengakure no Jutsu, simply because of how what's the kinda words Irika-sensei would use? Ah yes, situational. It was a very situational jutsu, as fires were fairly uncommon in most places ninja were likely to go, with a few exceptions. Still, maybe if he got it to a high enough level it would be more useful, he'd practice with it and see. You never know when you might need a jutsu like that, after all. Ding! It's a landlord's life, congratulations. You now have more than one tenant. With this condition cleared, the landlord system has been unlocked for your usage. You must be both tough and fair as landlord, balancing the legitimate complaints, concerns and problems of your tenants with your own needs and the priorities of your building as a whole. It is a tough balancing act, but you can consider it basic training for when you become Hokage. Landlord system unlocked. Tenant mood gauge unlocked. Building condition page unlocked. Rent monitoring system unlocked. Flicking through the newly unlocked pages, Naruto had to whistle. At the moment, aside from Asuma sensei, all of the tenant gauges were at neutral. They were neither impressed nor dissatisfied with his actions as a landlord. Quite unsurprising as he'd only been their landlord for less than an hour. Asuma was at satisfied, which was nice. There hadn't been many problems that Naruto had needed to fix, and what few he'd needed to sort out had been basic maintenance on a few of the training rooms. The building condition page was rather informative. It showed a blueprint of the building in highlighted areas as green, yellow, or red depending on their condition, according to a useful little legend that he had in one corner. Most of the building was a solid green color, with parts of it marked in yellow that he made a note of on a scroll to get his Gigi to send someone to look into them. While Naruto was called the landlord, he was technically only the landlord's representative. Once Naruto became a chunin, something he was definitely going to work towards, the Hokage was planning on transferring the ownership rights fully to him and then he'd be a proper landlord. Until then, the Hokage had to personally sign off on most work requiring hired help around the building. As for the rent monitoring system, it was all in the green, with a countdown timer to when the next payment of rent was due from each tenant. So very useful. I should go and see how everyone's doing. Naruto decided once he'd finished reading the new screens he could access. It was pretty obvious that there would be tensions between the genin, both new and old, especially since they weren't used to being around each other in a private setting for a long period of time. No sooner had he stepped outside of his apartment than the sound of yelling was audible. Cocking his head slightly, Naruto guessed it was between Kiba and Ino. What the heck was going on now to have those two at loggerheads with one another? Jogging down the stairs to where Kiba's room was on the ground floor, Naruto frowned as he wondered why Ino was down here when her room was on the first floor, like the rest of the girls were. "You're trash all over me," Ino shouted as Naruto reached the bottom of the stairs. "Screw you," Kiba growled back. The two of them were practically nose to nose in front of Kiba's room, with a lot of dreck, mostly dog treats and sticks, all over the floor, with some on Ino's clothes and hair. Most of the other residents of the building were also present, looking on as the two shouted at one another. "Do I want to know what this is about?" the blonde landlord asked the corridor at large with a sigh. Kiba-kun accidentally spilled some of his stuff on Ino-san. Hinata managed to get out. The blonde poked her pointer fingers together as she spoke, clearly nervous. "Ino-san didn't appreciate it. So I can see. Thanks for the sit rep, Hinata," Naruto said with a smile that made the Hyuga heiress face redden into the same hue as a tomato. "Okay, calm the hell down, both of you," the blonde boy said loudly as he stepped between the two shouting genin and pushing them apart. "Seriously, you've both been here for less than an hour and you're already fighting like cats and dogs. Back off, dobe, this isn't your business," Kiba snarled. "I'm the landlord and you're causing a fuss in my building. That makes it my business," Naruto shot back. "Let's get something straight, Kiba, in this building, I'm the alpha, get it?" As Kiba blinked in surprise, Naruto mentally patted himself on the back. Doing a bit of research about the Inuzuka clan had paid off. Kiba was an alpha, someone who was supposed to lead inside the Inuzuka clan, a trait they picked up from their long association with their Ninken companions. Kiba bowed to his mother, who was the dominant alpha of the Inuzuka clan. He bowed to Jonin and Chunin because they legitimately outranked him in the greater pack that was Konoha. He had never felt that Naruto outranked him and probably considered himself to be Naruto's superior. That being the case. Yeah right, Dobe. Kiba snorted, proving Naruto right. Landlord, maybe, but no way are you an alpha. Fine then. You and me in that training room over there. Naruto jerked his head towards the ground floor training room nearby. Winner's the best 2 out of 3. I win, you accept my position and stop acting like a jerk in the building. I lose, you can do as you please. You seriously think you can beat me? The Inuzuka heir growled, exposing his teeth in an attempt at intimidation. I came second in our class in taijutsu, you were barely the middle. What happens in the academy stays in the academy, dog boy. Naruto retorted. Welcome to the real world, where little rankings like that don't really matter anymore. He noticed Sakura look slightly annoyed for a moment before she shrugged. Ha! Fine, have it your way. Kiba sneered. Sure, if you win, you're the alpha of this place. Not like it'll happen. No Akamaru to help you out, Kibble. Naruto prodded. To take care of you, I don't need him, the other boy growled. Let's get this sorted out already. Shrugging, Naruto led the way to the training room, which was up to date and looked as if it had been transplanted from the academy's indoor taijutsu sparring area. Then the pop-up appeared. Quest alert. Proving who's top dog, Inuzuka Kiba is in serious need of an attitude adjustment and you have challenged him to a taijutsu spar in order to force him to acknowledge your position as landlord. Quest objective, defeat Inuzuka Kiba. Bonus objective, defeat Inuzuka Kiba while using Ninpo, Kitsunerisu no Binsho. Quest reward, plus 100 reputation with Inuzuka Kiba, plus 5000 Ryo, random Kimono clan jutsu scroll. Bonus quest reward, Ragaken, jutsu scroll, plus 5000 Ryo, rarity system unlocked. Quest failure, a serious amount of embarrassment. Quest has automatically been accepted. That was rather interesting. A rarity system? Naruto guessed that it had to do with weapons, armor, clothes and jutsu scrolls. It would be interesting to see how this played out. But first... Hey, Lee. Naruto called out to the taijutsu specialist. You referee this. Yosha. I shall put my most youthful efforts toward it, Uzumaki-san, the boy declared with a raised clenched fist. Wah. Both Naruto and Kiba blinked at his unusual usage of the term youthful. Just let it go, he takes after Gai-sensei way too much. Tenten called. Shrugging, Naruto moved to a few feet opposite Kiba and assumed the standard ready position of Hokage taijutsu. Kiba would likely use his family's taijutsu techniques, especially the nin taijutsu portion. He was very predictable that way, always charging in head first at full strength. And, sure enough. Ready, begin. Lee announced. Giju Ninpo, Shikyaku no Jutsu. Imitation Beast Ninja Art, 4 legs Jutsu. Kiba snarled, his stance becoming stooped and feral as the technique took a hold of him. Then he rushed at Naruto at a greater speed than he could normally manage, swiping with his clawed hands. Naruto blocked one, dodged another and redirected a third, backing up slightly as he focused entirely on defense. Kiba, frustrated that he was apparently being played with by his opponent, used a reverse scissor strike to force Naruto's arms to splay open before trying to drive a fist into his gut, only to be blocked by a raised knee. What? He managed to exclaim before the foot attached to that knee snapped out and slammed into his side painfully, forcing him back a step. Then Naruto went on the attack, driving punches and kicks into the Inuzuka before grabbing his arm and executing a very precise throw that left Kiba sprawled on his back, gasping for breath. First round goes to Naruto-kun. Lee bellowed, making Kiba wince and cover his ears. Lee! Inside voice. Tenten scolded him. Sorry, Tenten-san. Scrambling to his feet after he got his breath back, Kiba glared at Naruto angrily. He might have underestimated him then, but now he'd show that dope who was boss. Let's start again, he snarled. Naruto simply assumed the defensive stance he'd taken before again and flicked 2 fingers at him, as if to say, bring it, to his opponent. Naturally, Kiba saw red. Why you, take this, he shouted, barely waiting for Rock Lee to begin the fight. Tsuga. Passing Fong. Leaping off of the ground, the boy span around into a drill that leapt forward towards Naruto, who jumped to the side, allowing his enemy to pass by his former position. The Tsuga was the single-person version of the Getsuga, a combination jutsu involving an Inuzuka's Ninken. Because only one being was involved, the technique suffered an accordingly large power drop. It was something that Kiba had obviously not trained in as much as the Getsuga, otherwise Naruto wouldn't have been able to avoid it like that. Humph. This is a poor showing by both sides. Hyuga Niji jeered. I dunno what match you're watching, but Naruto just kicked Kiba's ass while using the basic Hokage style of the academy. Tenten deadpanned. He teammate could be such an ass sometimes. He has to have mastered the Hokage style, at least the basic and intermediate versions, in order to do that. Outwardly ignoring his kunoichi teammate's words, Niji narrowed his eyes at Naruto as the blonde dodged another Tsuga. What Tenten had said was very true, mastery of the basic and intermediate styles of the Hokage style was without doubt a requirement to manhandle Inuzuka Kiba in such a manner. However, Niji was an expert at reading people's movements due to his prodigious talent at the art of Juken, gentle fist, and he could see some definite traces of the advanced style of Hokage in the blonde boy's movements. It matters not. Fate has declared him to lose, the arrogant boy thought dismissively. Sure enough, Naruto was knocked down by Kiba seconds later, albeit by a hair's breadth. Second round to Kiba-kun. Lee declared. Ha! How'd you like that, dope? Kiba crowed. Naruto flipped himself back to his feet and stretched himself slightly. Okay, I think it's time to stop playing around, he said before making the tiger, horse and monkey hand signs. Ninpo, Kitsunerisu no Binsho. At his words, the boy crouched forward, a faint sheen of chakra outlining his body as it stretched and his limbs audibly popped. After a moment of silent staring, Naruto shot Lee an expectant look. Oh, the boy shook himself. Final round, begin. Naruto seemed to teleport across the room and start launching quick barrage of punches of fairly powerful punch directly at Kiba, who was desperately blocking them and backing up at the same time. A speed-oriented version of the Shikyaku no Jutsu? Tenten muttered, interested. What the heck is with this? Kiba thought as he was forced to retreat yet again. Naruto hadn't shown this kind of skill in the academy. Even if he'd given Mizuki-sensei a hard time in the taijutsu test, he hadn't been nearly this fast. He was the Inuzuka clan heir. He was an alpha. There was no way that he could lose to the likes of Naruto. Tsuga, he roared desperately and tried to spin into the drill of his technique. Before he could though, Naruto's hands shot out and grabbed him by the wrists and threw him onto his back yet again. Yash! The final round goes to Naruto-kun. Rock Lee declared, in awe of the most youthful taijutsu match he'd just refereed. He couldn't wait to tell Gai-sensei about it. Kiba looked up at the ceiling in utter defeat. He'd lost. Not only that, he'd lost so obviously that all of his anger had fled him. Damn, Naruto really kicked my butt, he thought wryly. You okay, Kiba? Naruto asked. Looking up, the Inuzuka heir saw his former opponent standing above him. Rolling over and standing up, Kiba winced at the ache in his arms. Naruto hit as hard as his sister did, which was pretty damn good considering Hana was a chunin, even if she was primarily the Inuzuka clan's vet. "Yeah, I'm good," Kiba said ruefully. "Damn, you hit like an out-of-control cart. You've been holding back in spars at the academy." "Maybe a little." Naruto grinned. "Always keep an ace up your sleeve for when you need it. You need to practice your tsuga more. I shouldn't have been able to dodge you at that distance." Yeah, sheesh, you're nagging me just like Ka-san." Kiba grumbled as Akamaru leapt back into his arms. "You won, and I keep to my word. You're the alpha of these apartments." "Good." Naruto nodded before turning to the other person who had been arguing. "Ino, what were you doing on the ground floor?" "I was gonna look in on Shikamaru to make sure he didn't just unpack his futon and go to sleep," the Yamanaka heiress huffed. "Troublesome girl," the black-haired boy muttered. "What was that?" Ino roared at her childhood friend. Inside voice, Ino. Naruto winced alongside most of the others. "Kiba, apologize to Ino for getting her dirty and try not to wander around with Drek loose in your arms in future." They were Akamaru's things. Kiba grumbled before begrudgingly apologizing to Ino, who accepted it and stormed off to have a shower and change clothes. Shooing everyone else off now that the spectacle was over with, Naruto returned to his apartment and started to pay attention to the pop-up that had appeared once Kiba admitted his loss. Quest complete. Proving who's top dog, Inuzuka Kiba was in serious need of an attitude adjustment and you have soundly defeated him, earning his respect in the process. Well done. Quest reward, plus 100 reputation with Inuzuka Kiba, plus 5,000 Ryo, Ninpo, Sai no Kawa, Jutsu Scroll. Bonus quest reward. Ragoken, Jutsu Scroll, plus 5,000 Ryo, rarity system unlocked. Congratulations. Your relationship with Inuzuka Kiba has advanced to friendly. Pleased with his achievement, Naruto focused on the two jutsu he'd earned. Skin of the Rhino and Wolf Fang Fist. Both of them sounded cool, but Naruto was more tempted by the more offensive-sounding one. Unfortunately, you cannot learn Ragoken, as you do not meet the requisite jutsu or skill levels to do so. Required jutsu/skills, Ninpo, Kitsunerisu no Binsho, LV20, Any, 1, other jutsu of the Kimono clan at LV20. Well, that sucks. Naruto grumbled. He only had Kitsunerisu no Binsho at level 5 because he rarely used it, which had come back to bite him on the ass right now. That really left only one choice for him to learn. Congratulations. You have successfully learned Ninpo, Sai no Kawa. Ninpo, Sai no Kawa, active, LV1, 0%, ninja art, Rhino Skin is a defensive jutsu of the Kimono clan, designed to protect the user from weak and non-chakra-based attacks from simple threats like normal wild animals, bandits, and thugs so the user can either quickly plow through them or focus on more dangerous threats. The user's skin assumes the defensive traits of a rhino to repel weaponry and taijutsu attacks. A basic level D-ranked jutsu for genin-ranked members of the Kimono clan. Hand signs, monkey horse snakeox. Grants all of the user's skin natural armor of 5 while active. Lowers DX by 10 while active. Costs 40 CP to activate and 5 CP per minute to maintain. Not bad. Naruto blinked. Kind does the opposite of what Kitsunerisu no Binsho does, slowing me down and improving my defenses. Hopefully that DX reduction will go away as I level it up. Getting up, he moved to the kitchen and inspected the cupboards. He'd have to do some shopping in the next couple of days, but he was good for tonight at least. Returning to his seat, he opened the pop-up about the new system that had been unlocked by his victory. Rarity system, all items in the world will be ranked by their rarity from here on out. The rarer an item, the more valuable it is. Weapons, armor, regular items and jutsu scrolls are just some of the things that this system affects. Be warned however that simply because an item is rare does not always equate to powerful or useful. There are several tiers of rarity. Trash. This tier includes broken, rusted, and abandoned items. A legendary item that has been poorly maintained or abandoned will eventually degrade to this tier. Some might be fixable if you have a craftsman of appropriate skill level to do so. Common. This tier involves items that are frequent sights in the world, including disposable weaponry such as kunai and shuriken, as well as basic clothing and E-rank jutsu scrolls. Uncommon. This tier is a slight step up from common, with the items being slightly less a frequent sight in basic society. This includes kunai swords, katana, chikuto, ninjato, D-rank jutsu scrolls and certain types of body armor. Rare. This tier involves items that are hard to find even among the various countries of the elemental nations. These can include zanbato, certain country-restricted jutsu scrolls and other items. Super rare, even rarer than rare items. These are usually items made by master craftsmen in very limited quantities, usually no more than a dozen or so. Note that a mastercraft item is not automatically super rare. Legendary. The highest tier attainable as of this update. Legendary items are usually one-of-a-kind items used, worn or carried by legendary figures in famous battles. A few examples would be the 7 Swords of the Mist, the necklace of the Shodaime Hokage, several summoning contracts and other items of this sort. I wonder. Naruto muttered. He opened his inventory and checked his weapons for their rarity. Tsubaki and Sumire were both rated as uncommon, as was that Konoha chakra blade he'd gotten immediately after the second system update. Kogetsu Kyushiki, on the other hand, was the only rare weapon that he had. The storm suit, which was going to be his C rank and up uniform, was also rare, which was interesting. Most of his other items, weapons and clothing were either common or uncommon, which was to be expected considering he was only a genin. Jutsu scroll-wise, he was amused to see that all of the futon jutsu scrolls were rated as being rare, which made sense. Out of all of the 5 basic elements, the wind element was the rarest of them all, making most jutsu for that element fairly hard to come by. Aside from jutsu for Kekkai Genkai, that is. Tomorrow's my first day as a genin taking missions. I'd better go out and see about learning that Suiton jutsu that Iruka-sensei told me about, the Jinchuriki thought with a slight frown. Knowing my luck, painting fences'll be one of the missions Asuma-sensei makes us do. After making sure he had everything he needed, Naruto headed out to the back of the Amicage apartments, which had its own back garden, including a modest pond. It was here that he tried his luck at learning Suiton, Suigun Suema. The first few times were less than successful, getting him soaked as the water just seemed to swamp him in a sort of aborted wave, which sucked. Undeterred, he kept trying. Eventually, after what he'd estimated to have been his 20th or 30th go at it. Congratulations! You have successfully learned Suiton, Suigun Suema no Jutsu. Suiton, Suigun Suema no Jutsu, instant/active, LV1, 0%, water style, water army water demon, otherwise known as water style, marine battle formation, is high D-rank jutsu that borders on low C rank. It allows the user to manipulate a large amount of water into a powerful, spiraling stream that can be directed and manipulated by the user to strike its target from a multitude of different angles. While it is mostly used to act as an impromptu fire service jutsu in an emergency nowadays, its utility in battle cannot be understated. 2 people executing the jutsu at once can double the effectiveness of the technique so long as they act in concert. Hand signs, boar dog horse tiger, range, up to 5 meters away. Requires pre-existing source of water to be used. Volume of water controllable, bucketful, deals int**ws 50 water damage to targets. Costs 50 CP to use and 10 CP per minute to maintain. If used by 2 people in concert, double the amount of water manipulated and the damage dealt by the highest leveled user. Cool. Naruto grinned before his stomach rumbled. Better get some lunch in me, it's past that time of day. Chuckling, the blonde boy headed back in to get started on his lunch and then practice his Fuinjutsu. This would be the last day he'd have the luxury of lounging around like this. After all, he'd be on duty as a member of Konoha's Shinobi forces starting tomorrow. He couldn't wait. The next day, Hokage's office, Hokage Tower, Konohagakure. Sometimes, I hate my life. Naruto growled out from the depths of his mind, one eyebrow twitching erratically. It wasn't the first time he'd had such thoughts, though it was the first time in a fair bit of time that he'd done so. The source for the young Jinchuriki's ire was currently floating lazily in front of his face, a screen of pale blue amidst a world of gray. Repeatable quest, D-rank drudgery, you are a rookie genin. Doing demeaning chores and acts of unskilled labor serve as both a means to pop any sense of ill-founded arrogance that might have formed on gaining your credentials as a child soldier and as a way for you to earn pocket money while giving your Jonin sensei an opportunity to assess and train you to the level that you can go on more difficult missions. Number of times completed overall, 0. Number of times quest has been completed today, 0 out of 2. Selection of D-rank missions, painting fences, walking Inuzuka clan dogs, babysitting, weeding a garden, high D-rank, catch Tora the cat, high D-rank, deliver messages to nearby village, scroll down for more choices, quest rewards, standard for all missions, 500 EXP, painting fences, plus 300 Rio, plus 50 reputation with, Konohagakure civilians, walking Inuzuka dogs, plus 500 Rio, plus 150 reputation with, Inuzuka clan, 5% chance to acquire, beast taming, skill scroll. Babysitting, plus 300 Rio, plus 50 reputation with, Konohagakure civilians, weeding a garden, plus 300 Rio, 50% chance to acquire, horticulture, skill scroll. Catch Tora, plus 700 Rio, plus 200 reputation with, Konohagakure Shinobi forces, Konohagakure Anbu, and Madame Shirjimi. If caught without the entire team being scratched to a bloody mess, a x5 multiplier is applied to the reputation gained for, Konohagakure Shinobi forces, and Konohagakure Anbu. Deliver messages to nearby village, plus 600 Rio, scroll down for more choices, Naruto had been scrolling through the list of D-ranks for what felt like the past 10 minutes, trying to find anything that seemed remotely interesting, only to be met with nothing but chores and grunt work. The sheer tedium of it all was already giving him a headache, and he hadn't even started on the actual missions. Seriously, how lazy were the civilians in this village that they had to pay actual shinobi to paint their fences, mow their grass, and tend their gardens? At least a few of them offered some halfway decent rewards, with the best being for the walking Inuzuka dogs quest. Taming an animal, that certainly sounded like something he could get behind. Horticulture sounded kind of meh, especially since he was pretty sure that Ino already had that skill at around level 30 or something. Still, he wouldn't say no if it was offered. As long as there wasn't some limit to the number of skills he could acquire, any skill was something worth acquiring in his books. Taking a moment to pull himself out of his ruminations, Naruto felt his eye twitch again as he took in his situation again. Everything he could see, from the old man, his teammates and sensei, the bits of furniture in the room, even the sky visible from the room's windows, had turned an odd sepia color, looking as if he was caught standing in some old drawing or picture. Worse, the world and everyone in it seemed to have frozen solid. No one else in the room had so much as twitched since the old man had reached for the pile of mission scrolls on his desk marked with a large D. Hell, there was a bird outside the window that seemed stuck in mid-air between wing beats. While normally this kind of situation would have been far more intriguing, especially with the pranking opportunity it could present later on, but there was one major problem: Naruto couldn't move either. He was literally stuck in the same spot and position as he'd been when time seemingly froze, only able to move his eyes in order to scroll down the mission selection screen. That changed what could have been an interesting and rather useful ability into something far more annoying. His nose had been itching for the past 5 minutes, and if he couldn't scratch it soon, he was going to lose his fucking mind. So I'm guessing the world's going to stay like this until I select our D ranks for the day? Naruto grumbled between unmoving teeth. Asuma sensei was relaxing to one side, while Ino and Sakura were flanking him. Better get to it then. Taking another look at the available missions, he quickly noticed that focusing on one brought up more details, including an estimated completion time for each, ranging from only taking a few minutes to several hours. He couldn't see any details on the high D rank missions, only a message that they required at least 20 regular D ranks to be completed before they were unlocked. It was also waived if you had at least 1 full year of experience as a genin or were promoted to chunin. Why someone would still be performing D ranks when they were a chunin was beyond Naruto's comprehension at the moment, but he supposed someone had to take that option, since it was written there in blue and white. He also had to wonder why catching a cat was seen as such a big deal by the village's shinobi force. Letting out a breath and trying to focus around his itching nose, Naruto gave the list of mission a moment of serious considering. Painting fences would not only be a quick and easy way to start off with, plus it would give him the chance to test that little trick Irika had told him about using his new Suigun Suiman no Jutsu. As for the other mission, he decided that walking the Inazuka clan's dogs would be good for Sakura-chan's and Ino's physical conditioning if nothing else, plus it would give him a chance at a rare loot drop. As soon as he made his selections, color seemed to flood back into the world in an instant and time started to flow again. The sudden shift was actually pretty jarring and more than a bit freaky. Now then, let us see what missions we have for your first set. Gigi seemed to pick up mid-sentence as he picked up one scroll, opened it up and glanced at it. Ah, Haramura Nodoka-san needs her back garden's fence painted today. Also, Inazuka Tsum has asked for someone to help her clan walk some of their ninken as well. The old Kage had to use quite a bit of his years of experience to hide the smirk that wanted to emerge at the sight of the incredulous expressions on Ino and Sakura's faces. The sight of new genin being told to do what he knew very well were chores that civilians couldn't be bothered to do. Oh, there were the occasional requests by those too elderly and infirm to do maintenance that they could no longer handle themselves, but the majority of the low to mid D ranks barely qualified as handyman jobs. Naruto was unsurprised, which Sarutobi had expected. His friendship with the adopted daughter of the Higarashis had guaranteed that she would let him in on the reality of a fresh genin's career. The blonde boy subtly caught his eye and used Konoha sign language while his teammates were distracted. Bloodline activated. Unusual occurrence. Will report later. So the gamer power had activated in a way Naruto hadn't expected? That would be interesting to hear about later. Subtly nodding, Sarutobi solemnly handed the scrolls to his son before Irika-kun started the standard, "Be on your best behavior" lecture that all new genin received from their former chunin sensei before their first D rank. Traditions were important. Also their expressions were hilarious, not that he would ever admit it to them. Haramura Nodoka's back garden, Konohagakure no Sato their first client. Haramura Nodoka was a lady just entering her 20s who looked like she had to be related to Sakura given her mane of bright pink hair, although both denied any familial relations, especially Sakura, who was throwing envious and jealous looks at the older woman's impressively large bust. The white ankle-length dress didn't hide her figure by any stretch of the imagination. I would ordinarily do it myself, but I have to leave Konoha tomorrow to meet my partner in a nearby village, she apologized to the team as she led them to her fence. That means packing and setting the house to be unoccupied for a while, so I'm afraid I will be busy for most of the day. Partner? Ino asked curiously, her gossiping tendencies coming to the forefront. A boyfriend? Girlfriend. Nodoka corrected her with a smile. Miyanaga Saki. She's going to move in with me next month. This meeting we're having is just to discuss various matters that will happen as a result of her leaving her family. With that, she left them to it, having already bought the paint and brushes. Ino looked stunned. Wow, didn't think a civilian would ever admit to being gay, the Yamanaka heiress said after a moment. Usually, they're pretty prudish. She's actually a retired kunoichi. Asuma corrected her. She was invalid out of the forces a couple of years ago due to a bad leg injury that the mednin couldn't heal. Can't tell because she's good at hiding her limp and she covers up her legs with long skirts and dresses to avoid showing the wound. Shame really, but if memory serves, Haramura-san was never that enthusiastic about the shinobi life. She seemed more relieved than anything when she was told that she needed to hang up her hitayate. You know her, sensei? Sakura asked curiously. She's a friend of a friend, stated the jonin absently, placing another cigarette to his lips. Enough taking, let's get down to business, that fence won't paint itself. The fence painting was over far sooner than anyone anticipated, thanks to Naruto using the altered version of the Suigun Suima to slather the paint on the fence, with Ino and Sakura brushing it out smoothly in his wake. It also got him a reward. Congratulations! You have successfully altered a jutsu. Suigun Suima no Jutsu now has the option to be used on all liquids rather than just water if you use the bird hand sign in place of the boar hand sign. You earn 1000 EXP. As a result of altering a jutsu without it blowing up in your face, you earn the Jutsu Mechanic title. See the title page for more details. In addition, the jutsu synthesis system is unlocked. See the relevant page for details. Oh yes, he was definitely going to take a closer look into both his new title and system when he got a chance. Dog walking had been significantly less easy, at least as far as Sakura and Ino were concerned. While both were fit enough for shinobi life, if barely, the two lacked the raw leg and arm strength to keep the excited ninken, who were noticeably stronger than normal dogs, from running around and dragging them along for the ride. In the end, Naruto was forced to form a pair of shadow clones to help his teammates keep their ninken under control. That had actually impressed Inuzuka Tsum, who'd slapped him on the back and told him that he should take the mission more often in the future. Benton's blessing had luckily kicked in after that, adding a copy of the beast taming skill scroll directly to his inventory. Stupid mutts. Sakura muttered belligerently as she massaged her palms, both of which were sporting red imprints from where the leashes had bit into them. Why couldn't I just use the Karada Kyoka no Jutsu to keep them under control again? Because you're still too green with that technique to exert the kind of control you'd need to keep from accidentally hurting the dogs. Asuma-sensei reminded her, an amused smirk crossing his lips. Give it a few more weeks of practice and some more chakra control exercises and then you'll be able to use it a lot more freely without risking accidentally breaking something you shouldn't. Now that the missions were over, the four were headed toward Training Field 10 to start on their individual and team training. After turning the signed and completed mission scrolls into the Hokage and getting paid, they'd had lunch at Yakiniku-Q before heading out for the training field at a sedate pace. So what's the plan for training today, sensei? Naruto asked curiously as they approached the field. Well, for you Naruto, we're going to focus on refining the ninjutsu you've already learned. You've got a pretty impressive collection already, now we just need to polish them to perfection. The bearded jonin answered easily, before scratching at his chin thoughtfully. As for Ino and Sakura, I'm not sure just yet. We're definitely going to be working on improving their physical conditioning, but otherwise I don't have a lot of options right now. I'd like to give Sakura a couple Suiton ninjutsu so she can use the Swajoki Bunshin properly, but I don't know any Suiton techniques myself that'd work for her. Ino also needs to learn more ninjutsu outside her clan techniques, but I don't know her elemental affinity, so I can't make any plans on that yet either. I'm working on correcting both these issues, but the red tape to get everything is a pain in the rear. What about genjutsu? Sakura's a genjutsu type, and Ino could probably make good use of them as well. Naruto offered as they entered the field proper. I'm not much of a genjutsu type, stated Asuma with a shrug of his shoulders. Always preferred the direct approach myself. I only know a single one, and it's a high C rank, something neither of the girls have the reserves for just yet. Good thing I've got you covered, Asuma-sensei. The blonde boy grinned before taking a pair of scrolls out of his pouch and tossing them to the jonin. Genjutsu, Moya Moya, Illusion Technique, Hazy, and Genjutsu, Kasumi, Illusion Technique, Misty, he mused as he cracked first one and then the other open enough to read their titles. A D rank and a high D borderline C rank 1. Perfect. The girls can learn and swap these over. Thanks, Naruto, I owe you one for these. No problem, it's not like I can use either of them. Stupid chakra control. Naruto grumbled slightly under his breath, getting a chuckle from his teacher. So what do they do? Ino asked curiously, proving she'd been listening in on the two. Sakura also spared the two males a curious glance. Moya Moya and Kasumi are both supplementary genjutsu that obscure the target's ability to see, though using different effects. Asuma replied. Moya Moya blurs the target's surroundings and makes it seem as if they are sinking into quicksand, while Kasumi makes it seem as if the target is surrounded by a bank of mist that only lets them see vague outlines of people. Yuhi Kurenai, a friend of mine and a genjutsu specialist, that actually shares the same name, but it acts as a form of illusionary clone variant instead. Since Kurenai actually created her version herself and the one we've got was created first, it's likely she'll be forced to change its name when she hears about it. Neither sounds like something that would fool a ninja sensei, not for long anyway. Sakura pointed out, frowning slightly. These are D-rank techniques, Sakura. They're not really designed to beat other shinobi, at least not anyone who's at least a competent genin. Asuma agreed. But if you use it on someone with little to no training, like common bandits and mercs, or even other fresh genin, they'd work fine. Besides, a few seconds of distraction can be the difference between life and death in a fight. Anything that breaks a foe's concentration, even if it's for just long enough for them to concentrate and break an illusion, can be useful. Also, Sakura, you should speak to your father and see if has an E-rank Suiton ninjutsu called Suiton, Kasumi, water style, mist, or the more advanced, D-rank version Suiton, Kirigakure no Jutsu, water style, hidden in the mist technique. If you use either of those in combination with the genjutsu version of Kasumi, it'll make a very effective tactic. Of course. The target would be confused as to whether they were locked in a genjutsu even after doing a dispel that it would leave them open for an attack. Sakura realized, the pinkette's mind going through the ramification of the combo. I'll ask my father about that tonight. Good. In the meantime, you get to try the Kasumi, and Ino you can work on the Moya Moya. Asuma directed as he tossed each scroll to its intended recipient. Naruto, make a shadow clone for each of them to practice on. It'll give you the advantage of experiencing both genjutsu without actually experiencing them. Because of the memory transfer thing, right? Naruto nodded and made the clone hand sign. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. In a puff of smoke, a pair of clones popped into existence, identical to the original Naruto in every way. Okay, you two, you're playing target dummy for Sakura-chan and Ino, the blonde ordered his copies. Aw man. This is gonna suck. Ignoring the grumbling of his clones, Naruto headed off to do his own practice, pondering which jutsu to work on first. He decided on the three closest to leveling up first, which meant Dangon, Kaden Shuriken, and Gensetsukan. They would benefit the most from it, and he would be lying if he said he wasn't curious to see what would happen when they were all maxed out. He'd only maxed out a single D-rank jutsu, Katon, Hadarubi, so he had no idea if the reason he got a mastery bonus for doing that was because fire wasn't one of his elements or because it really wasn't a powerful jutsu in the first place. Using the Shadow Clone Jutsu, once again, he created 30 more clones and divided them into groups of 10, each of whom practiced a different jutsu, while he settled in to do what clones could not and started grinding his stats, doing push-ups, sit-ups and crunches to pass the time. I'm breaking a sweat just watching him. Sakura mumbled to Ino, who nodded in agreement. You'll be doing physical training as well, just so you know. Asuma nodded to the pair before making a hurry-up motion with his hand to get them to start training. It was 2 hours later when Asuma called a halt to training. Sakura and Ino were on the ground, exhausted both physically and mentally and out of chakra. Naruto was only sweating slightly from all of the exercise he'd been doing, which earned him looks of disbelief from his teammates. Seriously, what the heck is with you? It literally shouldn't be physically possible that you aren't even fazed by 2 hours of non-stop exercise. Ino said to Naruto once she no longer felt like a used dishcloth. Hey, don't ask me. I've always been like this, Naruto shot back, thinking of his obscenely high stamina stat. It's because of his chakra, Ino. Asuma offered. He's an Uzumaki, which means his chakra is exceptionally dense and powerful. Chakra naturally reinforces the body and helps speed up recuperation and healing, meaning that someone with powerful chakra will normally have above-average stamina as well as long as they put in some elbow grease. That holds true with anyone with active chakra coils, from ninja to samurai. The more chakra you have, the better your natural health will be. Huh. Ino and Sakura said in unison. I think we made some good progress today. Asuma stated, looking around. Naruto, have you dismissed your clones yet? All the ones I was using to practice my ninjutsu, but I'm a bit hesitant to dispel the ones that Sakura-chan and Ino were using as guinea pigs. Naruto replied, looking quite pleased with himself. He'd managed to max out Gensetsukan, and was just half a level away from doing the same for Kaiten Shuriken and Dangon as well. Something tells me that dispelling those two will not be good for my mental health. He finished, hiking a finger over his shoulder to indicate the two clones in question. Both were looking rather pale and they were twitching noticeably. Yeah, best to do those two one at a time, agreed the Jonin, looking nervously at the twitchy clones. That kind of repeated genjutsu exposure can have some unpleasant after effects. Clones should mostly diffuse it, but releasing both at once wouldn't be pleasant. Give yourself a few minutes between each to recover. Right. Naruto agreed with a nod before dispelling the clone that Sakura had been practicing on. Suddenly he was bombarded with a phantom sensation of unease, images of being surrounded in thick mist with only vague figures and shapes discernible around him. The images stopped a second later, though the sense of unease remained for a few minutes, along with a minor headache. Then a new set of screens popped up in front of his nose. As a result of exposure to multiple weak area of effect site-interfering genjutsu in a short period of time, the skill, minor ocular genjutsu resistance, blur, has been created. Due to the number of times you or your shadow clone was exposed to it in such a short period of time, the skill starts at level 2. Minor ocular genjutsu resistance, blur, passive, LV2, 0%. A vast majority of genjutsu work by primarily targeting a victim's sense of sight and distorting it with various effects. Sometimes, this involves making the target unable to see via blurring their surroundings. This skill improves your ability to resist the effects of such an illusion while under it, but does nothing to prevent you from being influenced by it in the first place. Increases chances of seeing through a blur-type genjutsu by 2%. Ow. Naruto droned dully, massaging the bridge of his nose. Geez, Sakura-chan, just how many times did you cast that genjutsu on my clone? Its memories are full of nothing but being surrounded by that creepy mist. That's what it was there for, Naruto the Pinkette huffed in annoyance. Yeah, but you could have given it a break instead of casting the damn jutsu on it as soon as it faded. Naruto rubbed his head, wishing there was a headache resistance skill of some kind. Kid's got a fair point, Sakura. Asuma agreed. Remember that your teammate is helping you with this of his own free will, so show him some mercy next time. Yes, sensei, agreed Sakura, blushing slightly. On releasing Ino's clone, Naruto was again assaulted with a phantom ill feeling, this time accompanied by flashes of himself sinking into the ground as everything around him started to blur together. Luckily there was no headache with this one, though he did get another skill alert. As a result of being subjected to numerous uses of a balance-disturbing genjutsu in a short period of time, the skill, imbalance correction, has been created. Due to the number of times you or your shadow clone was exposed to it in such a short period of time, the skill starts at level 2. Imbalance correction, passive, LV2, 0%, the balance of a human, in motion or stationary, comes from many factors, including their height relative to sea level, the amount of oxygen available, the footing they possess and other physiological and geographic factors. This skill grants the user the ability to automatically correct for small amounts of imbalance when their sense of balance is negatively affected. Grants a 2% correction when the user's balance is negatively affected. As they departed, Naruto made a quick excuse about having to see Iruka-sensei about something, before heading off on his own and making his way toward the Hokage's tower. As he approached, he was greeted with the sight of Team 7 leaving the tower, all three covered in scratches and looking particularly disheveled and unamused. Naruto merely raised a bemused eyebrow, wondering what the heck had caused that. "Hey, Gigi, what's with Sasuke's lot? They look like they lost a fight with an angry, thorny bush," he called as he sauntered into the office of his surrogate grandfather. "They were assigned the Tora retrieval mission today." Sarutobi replied in amusement. Tora runs away from her master every other day, making it a regular mission on the Konoha roster. Quite an infamous one as well, as Tora is fast, cunning and fights like a devil rather than get caught. Nowadays, the mission is seen as a bit of a rite of passage or test for young genin teams. Naruto's sweat dropped at the sheer desperation implied by the tactics used by the cat. She must really hate her owner. Madame Shurjimi is a lovely woman, who unfortunately tends to be a bit overly affectionate with Tora, the Hokage offered delicately, not wanting to insult an important patron. "Anyway, is this about?" The boy nodded, making the Hokage quickly activate the room's security seals before motioning for Naruto to explain. "Your powers stop time and let you select the missions that you undertook today?" Sarutobi whistled as the young genin finished recounting the events of this morning. "That seems to be quite the power you have there. Do you believe it will activate every time that you come here for a mission?" "I think so," Naruto replied with a shrug. "No way of being certain other than by coming back tomorrow. At least the mission rewards are pretty good. I got a new skill scroll from the dog walking mission, beast taming. Have you looked into it yet?" the professor asked curiously. Honestly, Naruto's unique ability was an intriguing mystery, and it was one that Hiruzen was honestly enjoying helping the boy piece together. "Yeah, I gave it a quick look over when we were heading to lunch." Naruto nodded. "It can actually be used one of two ways. I can either learn the beast taming skill and then specialize once I reach level 10 in it, or I can use the scroll on an injured animal, learn the beast taming skill then, and specialize from level 1, which I think is the better way to do it." "It does sound more efficient," the Hokage agreed. "Think carefully before you use it, Naruto-kun. An animal companion can affect you much like the Ninken of the Inuzuka or the Kikeichu of the Aburame do." "I'll do that, Gigi." Naruto nodded. "So, you aren't mad about me interfering with your selection of missions? You had very little option in the matter but to choose for me, Naruto-kun." Sarutobi reassured the worried boy, waving a hand absently. "I lay no blame on you whatsoever. Promise me that you'll take different missions every day and we'll leave it at that." "Thanks," the boy said in relief before something occurred to him. "Hey, if the Tora mission is a high D rank, why was Team 7 able to take it? I can't take it until I've gotten 20 ordinary D ranks done." That is normally the case, but Kakashi was the one to specifically request that particular mission as opposed to the genin, the Hokage explained. He felt that the challenge of a difficult mission would drive it into the heads of those three that they need to work on teamwork as well as honing their individual skills. As an acting Jonin sensei, he can override certain requirements on D ranks as needed to help ensure the growth and development of his genin, so long as he can offer a proper explanation and doesn't break any major law. Huh. Naruto blinked. Cool. Well, I'd better head back so I can deal with any problems at the Amikage apartments. You dealt with the only problem to occur so far very well, so the ANBU tell me. Sarutobi complimented him. Kiba-kun needed a reminder that rank in the Shinobi forces isn't the only reason for him to bow to those outside the Inuzuka clan, something which you provided rather nicely. He. Naruto rubbed the back of his head bashfully. Oh, that reminds me, Gigi, what can you tell me about the Kimono clan? Not blinking at the sudden topic change in subject, since even before his new ability appeared Naruto was prone to jumping between subjects at the drop of a hat, the Sandaime organized his thoughts for a moment before answering. The Kimono clan joined Konoha about 10 years or so after Uchiha Madara was slain by the Shodaime Hokage at the Valley of the End. They were an unusual clan in that, while the clan itself was made up of several interlinked families, the families themselves were not actually blood-related. They were nintaijutsu specialists, utilizing ninjutsu similar to the Inuzuka clan's Giju Ninpo, beast imitation ninja art, and Jujin taijutsu, beast human taijutsu, but developed a variety of techniques based on many different creatures, with a primary focus on mammals. They were never one of the larger clans in the villages. At its strongest there was only around 100 members in total, and they simply vanished from Konoha in the year following the end of the Second Great Ninja War, leaving no trace of their destination or reason for leaving Konoha. Why the sudden interest in obscure clan history, Naruto-kun? I've gotten my hands on 3 Kimono clan jutsu thanks to my gamer powers, Gigi. I can't learn one of them because I need to level one specific jutsu, the Kitsunerisu no Binsho, and at least one other Kimono clan jutsu to level 20 before I can unlock it. Naruto explained. The Kitsunerisu no Binsho is kinda like the Inuzuka's Shikyaku no Jutsu, except it focuses on improving my agility and dexterity rather than my physical power. The only other jutsu of the Kimono clan I've learned is the Sai no Kawa, which lowers dexterity in favor of making my skin as tough as a rhino's hide, which makes it kinda awkward when I try to use them together in combat. Yes, if I remember correctly the Kitsunerisu was a Lochunin jutsu while the Sai no Kawa was a genin. Sarutobi mused thoughtfully. You learned them out of order, and I can see where that would cause some issues in mastering using them in concert. Normally one would learn the Sai no Kawa while still in the academy and practice it until they were as familiar with it as a normal shinobi is with the Academy 3 or Traveling 10. Then once, after graduating they would learn the Kitsunerisu no Binsho to combine the enhanced speed and agility with the enhanced defense of the Sai no Kawa to create a dangerous combination. I'd recommend focusing on training the Sai no Kawa first before trying to combine the two. Once you have a decent level of control over it, combining the two should be far easier. The old Kage paused for a moment. You know, I recall that the entire clan compound of the Kimono clan was left untouched after they left. I locked it up and activated the boundary seals to prevent any jutsu theft until I clarified their status. Wasn't the end of the Second War over 30 years ago by now? Naruto asked with a sweat drop. Yes, but we still have found no evidence surrounding the Kimono's mysterious disappearance, so their status is still listed as missing, unknown cause, in the records, the Hokage said with a crafty smirk. I think I can give you the key to the seal so you can explore the compound, once you've managed to learn all 3 of the Kimono techniques you've acquired and your team has completed 2 high D ranks. Naruto blinked as a window popped up. Quest alert. D rank drudgery. With a purpose, the Sandaime Hokage has promised to give you the seal key to the former Kimono clan compound upon your team's completion of 2 high D ranks. This also means slogging through 40 regular D ranks, 20 per high-ranked mission, in order to be allowed to take those 2 higher-ranked missions, but hang in there. Quest Objective 1, complete, 2, high D rank missions, 0/2 completed. Quest Objective 2, complete, 40, D rank missions, 02/40 completed. Quest Objective 3, learn the Ragoken Jutsu. Quest Reward 1, plus 3000 Ryo, random Kimono Clan Jutsu Scroll. Quest Reward 2, plus 500 relationship with Konohagakure Shinobi Forces, random rare elemental Jutsu Scroll, random. Rare Equipment. Quest Reward 3, plus 3000 Ryo, random rare non-elemental Jutsu Scroll, plus 3000 EXP, Kimono Clan Compound Key, permission to enter Kimono Clan Compound. Do you choose to accept this quest? Wonder why there's no failure consequences in that one, the boy mused as he tapped the Y button and accepting the quest. Likely because there is little to no chance of you actually failing it. Sarutobi remarked. D ranks are a matter of daily fact for a genin, and even some chunin, so unless you die or become a nuke nin, it will be nearly impossible for you to not complete this quest. Point taken. Naruto nodded. Welp, I'd better be going. Later, GG. Smiling, Sarutobi deactivated the security measures on his office as he waved goodbye to his surrogate grandson for the day. He wondered idly how long it would take Naruto to get restless at the relatively low amount of experience points that D ranks apparently gave him compared to his usual sojourns into Training Ground 13. The old Kage gave it 3 more days at most before Naruto got impatient and went to his old stomping grounds to get stronger. Not that the idea lacked merit by any means. Naruto was practically an expert at clearing through the chakra mutations already, and he had already completely purified the first 2 sub-areas of the excessive chakra for the moment. Still, he was in a team now, so he should learn to work together with his teammates in a combat situation, so that should be something of a focus for him. Sarutobi made a mental note to suggest to Asuma that one of his training sessions should be blooding Ino and Sakura on chakra mutations. If his gamer power works like I think it does, it may also reveal a clue as to what happened to the Kimono clan all those years ago, the old Hokage mused as he returned to his paperwork. That mystery still bothered the old Kage, and giving Naruto access to the clan compound was a small price to it. Besides, if Naruto did manage to learn all 3 of the techniques he'd acquired, then he'd be automatically accepted as an honorary member of the clan per Kimono clan law. With the clan only loosely linked by blood ties, they had developed that law to help bring in new blood and tie their clan together through more legal means. Normally this was done through an adoption process, with the adoptee being taught the kimono techniques by a senior member while being inducted into the clan, but Naruto's circumstances were rather unique. I do hope that Naruto-kun tells me what he finds when it does happen. Sarutobi thought tiredly as he went back to his paperwork. 3 days later Sarutobi truly understood how his surrogate grandson's mind worked, his predications regarding the young Jinchuriki's patience, or lack thereof, proving correct down to a T. Naruto had gotten sick of watching his EXP gauge tick up 1% at a time with those dinky D ranks. True, he was making some headway with his jutsu. Having maxed out not only Gensetsukan, but Kaden Shuriken, and Dangon, as well as gaining several levels on the Sai no Kawa technique. Doton, Gensetsukan no Jutsu, active, LVMAX, the Earth style, rock section Kane Jutsu is a fairly simple technique. After making the correct hand signs, the user should pick up a stone or rock, which transforms into a 1.5 meter long staff, which can be used in close combat or thrown at the enemy. At high levels, the user can create multiple staves simultaneously and assail their enemies with them. Hand signs, monkey rat snake number of staves created per use, 1 to 50 durability of each stave, 100 mastery bonus, 50% chance per use of doubling number of staves created when creating more than one stave. Futon, Kaden Shuriken no Jutsu, active, LVMAX, the wind style. Rotating shuriken jutsu is a useful jutsu for increasing the effectiveness of your shuriken jutsu. By infusing a shuriken with wind-natured chakra, you increase its cutting power. Once a shuriken has been infused, you can manipulate the shuriken to attack your enemies remotely. Requires shuriken to use. Actively increases the damage of any infused bladed weapon by 50 plus 5%. Actively allows you to control the infused weapon up to 60 meters away. Added effect, blades of lesser wind. Once a shuriken strikes its target, they will unleash 2 to 3 blades of wind into the target, causing 20 to 25 plus 5% per blade, and each has a high chance for a critical hit. Hand signs, none. Number of weapons that can be infused and manipulated, 15. Costs 10 CP per weapon, 2 CP per minute to maintain. Futon affinity and chakra control cost reductions taken into account. Mastery bonus, chakra cost is reduced to the above seen values. Doton, Dangon no Jutsu, active, LVMAX, by slamming their hand or foot on the ground after completing the hand signs, the user can send a large boulder or menhir at the opponent. As this jutsu only requires 2 hand signs, it can be performed quickly. The drawback of this jutsu is that it is relatively short-ranged and lacks speed when moving through the air, although this is improved at higher levels. Launches a boulder or a menhir at your opponent up to 10 meters away, causing 150 points of damage, plus an additional 20 points per every level of secondary Doton affinity that you possess, max 10 levels. The difference between a boulder and a menhir is purely cosmetic and entirely up to the user's preferences. Hand signs, horse monkey costs 60 CP per use. Mastery bonus, enemies targeted by this jutsu will be inflicted with 2 seconds of paralysis while it is in flight. The mastery bonuses were all over the place, but that just made it interesting. They were just high D rank / low C rank jutsu, so they weren't all that powerful compared to some jutsu. The mastery bonuses simply made them a bit more effective or easier to use. Still, it made his arsenal that much stronger. He'd changed into a fresh set of his light combat clothes after getting back to his apartment post-team training, and he was about halfway to TG-13 when Asuma sensei appeared next to him in a burst of smoke. Doing some self-training, the jonin asked casually as he fell into step beside his student. Considering the EXP from the D ranks is barely a drop of broth in the ramen bowl, I kinda need to if I'm gonna level up. Naruto replied evenly. It isn't as if I haven't been doing this for a year or anything. He's expecting me to try and convince him to stop. Asuma easily deduced. I have no issues with you going to TG-13. Asuma responded with a grin, causing his headstrong genin to relax slightly before he continued, but you are part of a team now, kid, you need to learn how to fight alongside each other. So I'd like you to at least invite your teammates along on your little hunting trips in future. Would Sakura-chan and Ino even want to learn how to fight these things? The blonde boy responded dubiously. Back when I was an academy student, it was a requirement that you had to fight and kill at least 1 chakra mutation during your final year at the academy. Asuma informed him simply. You either proved you had the stones for it or you automatically failed the graduation exam. Pops was not happy when he heard that idiot had it removed from the curriculum for being too harsh. I'll bet. Naruto snorted. Tenchan said she hadn't done that either, she killed her first mutation in there with me. Higurashi Tenten, right? Asuma questioned, snorting when the teen nodded. Of course, she's one of Guy's students, and that man would never condone harming innocent creatures as part of a training exercise. When he noticed Naruto's curious look, he elaborated. Mato Guy is one of Konoha's elite jonin and acknowledged as one of, if not the best, taijutsu master in Konoha. He's also a bit of animal lover. He hated the idea of having to kill a harmless creature as part of a graduation requirement even back when we were in the academy. Of course, He never hesitated to kill one if it went on a rampage or had killed/injured someone, but he never went out of his way to kill one that was just minding its own business unless it was a mission. Never mind that most chakra mutations attacked any human with active chakra coils as soon as the beast sensed them. He considers flesh-eating squirrels and boulder-sized moles harmless? Naruto responded incredulously. Depends on your definition of harmless. Asuma replied with a smirk. Even back then, Guy was a physical monster, the kind of guy who could lift and juggle boulders as part of his daily exercise routine. Compared to someone like that, most normal mutations would look pretty harmless. Naruto could only sweat drop at that. Yeah, compared to a monster that, even the boss monsters he'd encountered sounded fairly harmless. Anyway, all I ask is that you at least give them the option, the Jonin said calmly. Besides, it's always a good idea to have backup, especially since I can't risk going in there except for a brief period thanks to that gang of idiots you dealt with. Stupid spandex brigade. Naruto grumbled. Alright, I agree sensei, but only after they learn at least a couple offensive ninjutsu. The training grounds are not easy, even the ones I've already cleared have issues. Remnants of chakra from deeper in the training grounds leak in and possess the trees, turning them into possessed Makujin. Normal kunai and shuriken are pretty much useless against those things. Heh, alright kid. Asuma nodded. Naruto made a fair point about the dangers the girls would face in the training grounds, so he supposed they could wait a bit. Sakura's already making good progress with Genjutsu, Moya Moya, and the Suiton, Kasumi scroll she got from her father. Ino's also making good progress with Genjutsu, Kasumi. Once they've gotten both Genjutsu mastered to an acceptable level, I should have gotten my hands on some entry-level ninjutsu scrolls suitable for them both. Should have them both combat ready in a month or so. Sakura-chan said that her dad was gonna give her a genjutsu to work on as well. Dunno what it's called though, the boy mentioned as the fence of training ground 13 came into sight. Haruno Kizashi was well known for his prowess with one genjutsu in particular, even though he never got above genin rank during his career. Asuma said thoughtfully. Suiton Genjutsu, Suigetsu Shinkiro, Water-style Genjutsu, Water Moon Mirage. Rather than using chakra to infiltrate the senses of an opponent, it manipulates the water particles in the air to refract light and create illusions to deceive and trick the enemy. If he teaches her that, well, she's going to be scary for other ninja to face. BRR. A genjutsu that can't be dispelled through a release or by inflicting pain on yourself. Why did Sakura-chan's dad never get promoted again? Naruto shivered at the thought of being on the receiving end of that jutsu. Honestly, sheer bad luck. Before he retired, he was as good as any chunin, but he always had issues when it came to the exams. He was injured right before a couple of exams and was unable to enter. Then, when he actually got a chance to enter, he failed because of an accident in the second round injuring one of his teammates, and he was forced to withdraw before the third round after being poisoned during another. Asuma answered. He retired soon after when he married Mabuki and had Sakura-chan, but most of his old comrades still remember him with respect for his years of service. Some people just don't have any luck, the boy muttered before shaking his head. Well, I'm heading in sensei. Take care, Naruto. Asuma nodded, chuckling as the boy trotted off to enter the training field. He's gonna be an interesting one to train. Now then, I guess I'd better go and wade through more red tape to get those affinity testing papers and basic jutsu scrolls. Knew I shouldn't have brushed Oyaji off when he offered to streamline things for me. Stupid pride. Sighing, the bearded jonin headed off, leaving his student to once more hunt down possessed blocks of wood. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Guys, make sure to help the author by visiting the link in the description. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off.